Welcome to Finance Playbook, where we bring you exclusive audio insights from top business leaders. Grab your notebooks and get ready to learn.
Man, I hear a lot of stories from Idaho. You know, we kind of live up in the mountain country up there. And you always occasionally will get a bunch of Texans come through the country and on their way to Sun Valley or coming through. We got a lot of lakes, a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing. And I used to listen to all the stories as I just sit around and observe. And, man, I'm telling you, after that warm welcome, you guys are kind of right on. Maybe some of those weren't stories we heard. They were absolute truth. So what we're here tonight to do is share with you some things that I think you're going to discover two things early on. Number one is the truth, and number two, they can change your lives. You know, we're here in Texas not because we've been paid to come. We're here in Texas tonight by total choice. And you're here for the very same reason, and we respect that. But we want you to know that we're here tonight to share with you some ideas that can change your total life if you're ready to listen. Now, the beautiful thing about being in a free society is you don't have to listen to nothing. But if you're busted, if money controls you and you're sick and tired of being broke, I suggest you ought to start listening. And most people today know so much that they're going nowhere fast and they just don't understand it, and as a result they fake themselves out. And when the game of life is over, somewhere around age 65, the system says, you're through, and spits them out at the lowest point, and they look over the shoulder and say, my God, Mildred, what happened? Where did we go wrong? What was it in our life that we missed out on? We worked hard. We put our nose down. We did what a system of life told us what to do, and guess what? It kicked us out broke. If you don't think I know what I'm talking about, friends, you take a look at the senior citizens in Dallas, Texas, for the most part. Now, there's exceptions to every rule. We'll be the first to admit. And when you get into this part of the country, you start running into some extraordinary wealth created through minerals and oil and all the other things, right? So we know we got some people in this room that are probably doing very, very well. And you're proud of it, and we're proud of you, and we applaud that because we're here tonight to talk about achievement. But a lot of people think they're doing real well, but I got to ask you, compared to what? I got to ask you what your standard is. I got to ask you, are you comparing yourself to all the broke people in Dallas? Compared to them, you're probably doing great. Well, what about raising your standard to excellence? What about to complete total financial independence and personal freedom? What about living life the way you want to live it instead of being controlled by time and money? Now, I always like to talk to professional people because I used to be one. And I'm always amused, particularly the doctors, when they say, well, I do whatever I want anyway. And I said, good, let's go play golf all day tomorrow. Well, wait a minute. Now I got a little patient coming in there. Well, I thought you could do what you want to do. Just call them up and cancel them. Oh, you don't understand. See, all of a sudden, when you call the shots, they begin to change the deal on you. And that is a person that is controlled. Now, I'm not putting doctors down, and I'm not putting people down. But I want you to understand a little bit about where I come from, particularly for the new people here that weren't sure what you were coming to, and you're really not going to be sure after I'm through. But I'll guarantee you one thing you're going to be, if you want to succeed, you're going to be excited. And I'll promise you that nothing will happen in your life until somebody gets excited about something, and you better pray it's you. And you also better pray that it's about everything you do. Because if you can't get fanatical about something in your life, then you're just going to stumble through life, getting up day after day and week after week and year after year and just getting by. Most people never use any of the ability they were given at creation. God gave you the most exciting thing in your life placed between your ears. And most people ask their brain to do nothing except what it did yesterday. And we call it 10 foot forward and 10 foot back. 10 foot forward and 10 foot back. You ever heard that story? Had a bear in a cage. It was 10 foot long. They put the food at one end, they put the bear at the other. And every day he'd walk 10 feet and eat, go back over and lay down. Walk 10 feet and eat, go back over and lay down. Did that for 10 years in a zoo. Everybody would watch him. They removed the cage one day. 10 foot forward, the bear would go over and eat. Go back without bars. 10 foot forward, the bear would go over and eat. Go back without bars. Now here's what's scary. They moved the food 15 feet away from the bear. The bear went 10 feet and stopped. So many people in life get comfortable with what they've got. They're 10 foot forward, they're 10 foot back. They got up and did for money today what they got up yesterday and did for money. And they're going to get up in the morning and do for money what they did today. And their lives are going round and round and round and round in a circle 100 miles an hour. They're on the road to nowhere and don't even know it. But it's 10 foot forward and 10 foot back. And you accuse them of being in a rut and they get defensive because they're comfortable. Well, let me tell you how I define a rut so you know where we're coming from. If you know how much you're going to make in 1982 within $5,000, you're broke. You need to pay attention. And if you haven't changed the wake-up time on your alarm clock in the last 3 years, you're in a rut. Now, I'll promise you that. And I don't care what you do. And I'm also going to tell you that you don't have to change or do anything about it. But if you're sick and tired of being controlled by time and money, just keep doing the same thing you've been doing, and guess where you're going to be in 5 years? You're going to be in the same place you are today, except you'll be worse off, because taxes and inflation are going to continue to eat you alive. And that's why we're here tonight. 5 years ago tonight, I was in my office because it was tax season. I was a CPA and had been for 8 years. I had done exactly what a system of education had taught me how to do in America, and that's how to be busted. And that's exactly what I was at age 32. I had done what I'd been programmed to do, and that's get some good education, some good experience, and go out with all that ability and exchange it for salary and get up in the morning and go do the same thing I did the day before and the week before and the year before that for 8 years. I would be called in one day a year by a great big honcho boss that I was after his position because I expected to be at the top in that area of my life. And he'd call me in and he'd say, "Dave, you've done a tremendous job for us. We just appreciate it." It was an international accounting firm. And I had a big fancy title with it. And he said, "Dave, I want you to know that you've done a fantastic effort for you. But you got to understand it's been kind of a hard year. And we know you can handle responsibility, and we're excited about that. What we've got a concern about is we don't think you can handle the pay. And as a result, what we want to do is give you a nice little cost of living increase here to recognize your efforts. About 10% increase in income." Now, the problem with that is that inflation back then was up 12%. So right off the bat, I lost 2%. And then the stupid raise, all it did was move me up another income tax bracket. You ever been in that position? So what inflation missed, Uncle Sam grabbed his big hand in there and got another big bite, and I became a two-time loser. But I did get a smile, a handshake, and a new title, a manager. They moved me into a corner office, had mahogany paneling on the wall, and I had 2 windows, and then I received the ultimate success. In Boise, Idaho, it's designated by 2 people bringing a rubber tree plant in, setting it down. And I swear that's what happened to me, and when I first got involved in what I'm involved in now, and they talked about that, I about fell out of my chair when I heard it. Because I could show you my rubber tree plant. I looked good, I smelled good, and I was broke. I was so successful I did what 60% of the married men in this country have done before. I put my wife back to work. But because I was professional, I dashed out immediately in the neighborhood and said, "Jan's gone back to work because she is bored around the house." I didn't want him to think that a young, aspiring CPA couldn't support his family. I wanted people to think that I was doing real good because where I was going wrong and didn't even know it, I was comparing myself to broke CPAs. And I was right down in the rut with them, laying there, and pigs don't know pigs stink. You know that? I'm going to tell you the truth tonight. I'll tell you 2 things I know about the truth. Number 1, it's always constant. The truth never changes. And number 2, if you understand and learn it, it'll set you free. Now, I'm a free person and have been for the last 3.5 years of my life. I'll be 37 years old this month. I'm in the upper 1/10 of 1% income brackets in the United States of America, and I'm proud of that. I haven't worked or been controlled for anybody for over 3 years, and I like that because that means you roll over instead of roll out if you want to. Now, it doesn't make me a big shot. It's just that I don't have any titles in what I do now. I can't put anything on my walls. I cannot show you a rubber tree plant. But I will compare bank balances any day. When I could show you all my plaques and all my beauty and all the things I thought regular business was about, I wouldn't show you my bank balance because there was always a 0 in it. Now, I'm going to share a little bit about success principles with you tonight, and I want you to know something. There's a real quick test you can throw on yourself to see whether or not you're succeeding. Look at your bank balance. That's the fastest test I know. Now, here's something else I know. If broke people would just be honest with themselves and realize it, they can all change if they want to. Now, let me tell you what, how you know if you're broke. Number one, there's always a zero in your bank balance. Okay? Number two, you got a bunch of charge cards and they're all up the limit. Number three, broke people spend about $3,000 to $4,000 more each year than they make. And that's why they live for income tax refunds. And if you've already filed your income taxes, you're broke. And you need to listen. Happens every time. I speak out of a position of knowledge. You see, wealthy people never file them until 14 April. You know why? They aren't going to give the government their money until they absolutely have to. Broke people got to go in and get them. I used to get mine in by January 31st every year. I can remember strangling the office manager to give him my W-2 before the 15th of January so I could get it in a hurry because I needed the money to cover my debt. And it seemed like every year it was more of the same and more of the same. And pretty soon taxes and inflation got to the point where Dave and Jan couldn't hack it anymore. So I did what any 32-year-old broke accountant would do. My wife wanted a new automobile. We had a car that wouldn't start in Idaho when it got cold. It was a pre-owned 67 Nova that leaked oil. Now, regular people call them used, but professionals call them pre-owned. Ours has been pre-owned 3 times before we found it on a lot. And I finally had a bellyache of it. I just got tired of my wife saying, I got to have a car, I got to have a car, I got to have a car. I said, fine, we'll solve it. Quit bellyaching, you're going back to work. I'll splurge, honey, after you get a job, and we'll let you get the used Toyota of your choice. I was going to do mine for the country's gas shortage. And that's where I was 5 years ago last month. It was tax season, and I was so busy I didn't know whether to come or go. I was busier than a one-legged man in a fanny-kicking contest. And that's pretty busy. And if there's any CPAs that their experiences in the area of income taxation, you know where they are tonight? If they don't have a dream, they're in the office and the light's on. Because it's tax season. Now, ski season and tax season fell at the same time in Idaho. I loved to ski. Unfortunately, I never did because I couldn't get away. And I would work every night until midnight. But here's what you got to understand about people that we know. People will do what they want to do. Now, the reason I'm telling you about this is because I'm still concerned about the people that came to see a business tonight and haven't got me figured out. So I'm going to get you and me figured out so I can get on to what I'm going to talk about here. But I want you to know that I'm no different than anyone else sitting in this room. The reason I'm not any different is because I'm just like you. I wanted more from a family, but I didn't have ways and means to get it done. I did not enjoy being broke. And 5 years ago, I was broke. And I was sick and tired of it. We were living what's called a life of quiet desperation. That's where you're having enough that you're not really willing to get out and do anything about it, but you always ask yourself the question, isn't there more to life than this? We used to run out of money before we ran out of month. Every month. I can remember getting a paycheck from the cashier, riding an elevator down the fanciest office building in Boise, Idaho, to the ground floor and walking 3.5 blocks to the bank and taking my check and giving it to the teller at the bank and kissing it goodbye. All I was doing with my income was covering bills and checks that I'd paid the Friday before payday. But I was professional. I was highly educated, and I am. I looked good, I smelled good, and I was broke and wouldn't admit it. Well, you'll recall from your history, at least in the Idaho part of the country, 5 years ago last month, a little television series came on. Boots! And here's where you begin to understand and learn about people. I was busy. My wife was fully employed, busy. She was going her way. I was going my way. We had a color TV set, a home mortgage, and a 5-year-old son in common. And we talked during commercial breaks and on Sundays after the games were over. That's where we were after 9 years of experience together as husband and wife. I'd promised my wife everything the month we got married, and 8.5 years later, as close to the moon as we got was a good look on a clear night at it. She was beginning to wonder why I wasn't any more excited about getting up on Mondays than I used to be. I was 32 years and peaked out, and it was the busiest time of my life during tax season. But when Roots came on, I decided to take a little time out and see what this show is all about, because the human will do what he wants to do. I don't care what the situation is, and that's why we don't buy excuses in the business I'm going to talk about a little bit here tonight. You see, an excuse don't pack it. Failures make excuses in life. Successful people make things happen. Which one are you? Well, I want you to know that I'd hit the door at 7:55, come in, run upstairs, get 2 ham sandwiches, which already had to be made. I would sit down in front of a contraption that had 2 legs crossed on it, eat and watch TV at the same time, and therefore get in every night. And I was just about ready to bite in to a ham sandwich, and Cooner Kinte was just coming across the white sands of Africa, and they were starting to throw ropes around him, and the doorbell rang. Now, just a week before, a fella had called me that I hadn't seen in 10 years and lived over 300 miles from my home and said he was going to be down to talk about some money ideas to me. I said, great, because I was broke. I'd lost every bit of 5 years of savings in a commodity market transaction that near wiped me out. I was totally prepared to see what I saw when I got involved in the business I'm going to explain to you. And when that doorbell rang, I was so highly successful and excited about life, I immediately stood up and exploded. I have since learned that broke people get mad very easily. Have you ever run into that? I have a very good friend in this business. His name is Dexter Yeager, and he told me something one time. He said, the size of the man can best be determined by the size of the things that make him mad. I immediately had a scary flashback. I used to get totally aggravated over a little round white thing that looked like that you placed on a wooden tee. And if it didn't go where I hit it, I'd explode aggravated mad. So that meant about how big a man I used to be. But I stood up, the hero, the broke person in the head of my house, and I pointed my finger at my wife, and I said, he's here. You go down to that door and you tell him I am at the office. I want to watch this episode, because I would watch television for 2 hours and then go back to the office and work until midnight. Now, I'm married to a wonderful woman. She stood up and said, Dave, you go down there and tell him you're at the office. And that's how I got suckered into looking at the business. That's how I got snaked into looking at something that totally has changed my life. I was hooked. There was no way out of it. I slammed off the television set, and I went downstairs, and I was mad. And I want you to know, when I could get mad 5 years ago, it was a pretty good job of it. And he began to talk to me about things like making money. Well, I wasn't making any, so I couldn't relate to him. But you know what I did? I started telling him immediately how good I was doing, as if I was trying to impress him. You ever noticed how somebody immediately, when you ask them what they want, begin to try to justify the failure by telling you how good they are? I love asking professional people what they make, because they'll always tell you gross. They're afraid to tell you what they're clearing. Net. And the reason that is because most people in life have no possible comprehension of where they're going and what they're doing. Most people in life today are so busy being broke they don't even know how to succeed, and therefore they never will, and they just get up and do the same thing day after day, and the life goes by them, and once your life goes by you, there's no getting it back. So you got to decide whether or not you're going to succeed or fail, and that's the first principle of success, making a decision. Well, I didn't have anything to decide about because I was so happy failing that I didn't know how to succeed. But the fact of the matter was I wasn't very happy, because even though my wife had gone back to work, amazingly, how her money she was making was getting spent just as readily as mine, and we didn't seem to be getting any further ahead. But the tension in our family was beginning to mount. I used to say, well, you just waste all that time during the day, honey. Shoot, you can take care of the kids, you can keep the house clean, you can wash the dishes, you can cook, you can take care of the yard on evenings and weekends. You're just wasting all that good daytime. Because I was telling her every night how tough things were down at the office. You ever seen it? I sat down 5 years ago last month and took a look at a business idea that totally changed my life. I got so excited I didn't sleep for 3 days. A gentleman looked me dead in the eye. I'd driven 300 miles through a snowstorm in the state of Idaho, and he said, Severn, I'm going to show you how to make money hunting geese. Now, I love to hunt and fish. You have some people in the room that like to hunt and fish? I looked him dead in the eye, and I said, are you telling me the truth? He said, yeah. And I said, friend, you show me a way to make money hunting geese, and I'll be a millionaire. He did, and I am. Now, that's why I'm here to share with you. And that's why, if you're interested in making some money and beginning to control time and money and enjoy life and have fun together, and if you're married, have a better relationship, be happier, live longer, and be wealthy, pay attention. If you're not interested in any of those things, I can't help you. But I want you to know, if you're here for the first time, and particularly if you haven't seen what we're going to talk about here today, it's because somebody cared enough about you and thought you were ambitious and thought just possibly you might be really interested in having a kind of a lifestyle that I just described if you want. Being able to do what you want to do and help a lot of other people. Now, if you don't think we know what we're talking about, I'd ask you kindly to look around you. You've never seen a sharper bunch of people get together in Arlington, Texas in your life on a weeknight, dressed up, excited, looking good, and those that are married are here hand in hand with their wife. And I'm proud to be here because I'd come 10,000 miles over broken glass to be with you. I don't like being with losers, but I love being with winners. And I'll tell you, the only way you'll associate with winners is to succeed. Because winners make it. And that's why winners and losers never match up good in life. You ever notice that? A loser can handle about 2 minutes with a winner, and likewise, vice versa. And I'm going to tell you why that's true so you understand. Winners take away every excuse for failing that exists. And when you get stripped naked, it's pretty hard to sit there and stand it, right? And winners make things happen. They do not make excuses. Now, what's always amazed me is how somebody can work hard for another man and fail, and you show him how to succeed, he won't listen. You ever notice that? I like to paint an analogy there because I think it makes sense as I lead you into this idea. Let's say that I came down here to Texas just totally a dummy. I didn't know nothing. I just came down here. Let's say Walt Newman, who was one of the hosts here tonight, came up and he said, Dave, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make you a bet. I want you to go through this wall. I bet you can't get through this wall. Right there, I bet you can't do it. And I said, come on, Walt, man, I'm pretty sharp. I can do it. I said, well, I'll tell you what, the objective is for you to get through the wall. Any way you want to, doesn't make any difference. I'll give you as long as you want to. I just don't think you can go through there. So I walk up, get a nice even spot on the wall, make sure there's no nails sticking out, put an X on it, step back with my forehead, and begin to headbutt that wall in an attempt to go on through it. Because I've been told that all you got to do is knock whatever down in front of you over, and you can go right on through it. No problem. Well, after 3 or 4 days and nothing to eat, Walt come back and check me out, and I'm sitting there hitting my head on the wall. He said, Dave, you hungry? Yeah, I'm hungry. Your head hurt? Yeah, I got a terrible headache here, Walt. Did you get through the wall yet? No, Walt. Still just a little tougher than I thought. Walt says, now, wait a minute, Dave. Let me show you how we do things in Texas. Now, I know it's going to be simple. I know you're going to say, oh, it's too good to be true. I know you're going to have a hard time believing it. But I'm telling you, Dave, this contraption here with the sign over it that's lit up, that's called a door. Now, doesn't take much, not difficult apparatus to learn how to use. I can teach you how to do it just a little bit. And what you do, Dave, is when properly learned how to use it, all you got to do is just put a little pressure on it, open it up, and you'll step right through the wall. Let me tell you what losers and broke people say without a dream. Oh, it's too good to be true. I don't believe you, Walt Newman. Nothing could be that simple. No, Dave, you got to understand. You just walk through the wall right there. Just call door, go through it. Now, what's the catch? What's it going to cost me? There's got to be something here that's going to be in it for you, or you wouldn't be telling me something that simple after 3 or 4 or 5 days of trying to make it through my way. And Walt said, no, Dave, I'm just telling you the truth. Here, I'll go through it for you. You just stepped on through it. Waves from the other side. Come on. No. There's something wrong here somewhere. It just is too good to be true. Now, if you were Walt, and I refused to go through the wall, and went back over and began to hit my head on the side of the wall there, what would you think about me? You'd question my mental capability. You'd think that I totally either didn't want to go through the wall or enjoyed breaking my head open. How long would you, if you were Walt, sit on the other side of the wall and convince me to come through the door? Wouldn't you go find somebody else who wanted to come through and go with you? Wouldn't you get on down the road of success and begin to enjoy life with the people you want to be with and work with ones that want to succeed rather than trying to convince somebody how to succeed that don't want to? First principle of success. You got to make a decision in life whether you're going to make it or not. If you haven't made a decision to make it, you've made an automatic decision not to make it. You either succeed in life or you fail. There is no in between. You're either going to make something happen or you're going to make nothing happen, and that's the very first principle you need to understand. So success begins with the decision that something is going to happen. Now here's where a lot of people blow it, and blow it real bad. They have to figure out how they're going to get something done before they decide to do it. And when you confuse the decision process with the how you're going to achieve it process, you won't make a decision. It's called decision constipation. And if you don't make a decision to succeed, you've made an automatic decision to fail, because no action equals failure. Now in Idaho, we call them thumb suckers. They insert their thumb into their mouth and go to work on it. They never do anything. Or they'll come up with some brilliant statement like, you do it, and if it works, I'll see if I can do it. That'd be just like a guy coming out here, a farmer in Texas, saying, listen, man, you plant your wheat, and when it comes up, I'll plant mine, just as soon as it comes wintertime. You see, a lot of people say, have you ever heard this one? I gotta see it to believe it. I'm going to tell you, friend, if you can't see something before you have it, you ain't ever going to have it. Now, pardon the word, ain't. Okay, if we have some English teachers in here. I just want you to know that when I had real good English, I was busted. So I don't worry about it anymore, and if I can overcome it, so can you. I just want you to hang loose. Now watch. Now watch this, because I'm taking you right up to the point here. If you have to wait around for somebody to do something before you can believe it can be done, you'll never do anything, and as a result, you fail. There's only one other point that you got to understand there, is that you only get one go-round in this life here on earth, and you better make the best of it, because you don't get tomorrow back. It's gone. And there's a lot of people trying to wait for somebody else to show them how to succeed rather than showing them a way to succeed and let them figure it out for themselves. 5 years ago, I got shown how to succeed. Instead of being given a fish, I was given a fishing pole and taught how to fish. Then it was up to me to do with it. And that's why you got involved in the business that we're going to explain here tonight. That's why you got involved in business for yourself, because America is a free enterprise system. I will guarantee you that the Pilgrims and all the people with Columbus did not board up on 3 ships and come to America to get a job. They came to America because it was a land of the free and an opportunity to succeed in life in a free enterprise economic system developed by a guy named Adam Smith. Now watch. Prior to the turn of the century in this country, over 90% of American people worked for themselves. Were self-employed, and the handful that were employed were in an apprentice capacity, trying to learn a trade or one ways and means to exceed in life and accomplish their own dreams, goals, and desires through a thing called free enterprise. People weren't taught how to, yes, boss, yes, boss, yes, boss. They were taught how to make things happen themselves. Don't laugh. I pucker up all the time. Let me carry this thought on through. So I'm going to drift here a little bit, and then I'm going to lace you, all right? I'm just getting you set up, and I'm going to hit you right in the bullseye before I'm all through with this, okay? Okay. You're going to worry about what I said all night. When he gets in, I'll show you. But let me get back to where I was. In 1900, in the United States of America, we experienced what's called an industrial revolution. Big business was formed. Large corporations came into bear. Government entities began to start into motion. Now, what did that whole thing require in order to continue to operate? What does big business need in order to make it? Now listen. You can call them what you want. I heard one good description over here. But let me tell you what, let me be professional with you now. I don't want to drift off and go flat here. They're called employees. People without a dream. People who are willing to get up today and trade 8, 10, 12 hours a day for some kind of a paycheck, bring the paycheck home, exchange it for standard of living, use it to the extent it's usable, and then get up the next day and go do the same thing, and 10 foot forward and get a paycheck next month and come home 10 foot back and get by and just accept it. It's as good as it's ever going to be, honey. Let's just bite the bullet. Here's the worst one of all. We broke, but we happy. Day after day after day after day after day after day after year after year after year, and all of a sudden life is over. And for the last 80 years in the United States of America, and I know this is going to hurt you, but this is why we talk the way we talk about it. America is the greatest country in the history of the world, and yet it's the only country that does not teach its young its own system of economics. You were taught in this country today through a school system that teaches you how to get some good education, some good experience, some good knowledge, and go out and get a job and guarantee yourself a right to fail. Because 98% of American people today in the United States of America are controlled by time and money, and by their 65th birthday, they'll either be dead or flat broke. Out of every 100 men in America today, and working women, ladies, because 60% of the wives in this country now work, and it ain't because they're bored. Now listen. Out of every 100 working people, right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, just as much as in America, 36 out of every 100 will be dead before they ever see the age of 65. The major cause of death is heart attack. It is not caused from overwork. It's caused from stress, strain, and anxiety at trying to make a $5 bill go where a $50 bill ought to go. Now, you can't be happy when money is wiping you out. 90% of the arguments in a home are over the subject of lack of money. Now, watch this. Of the 64 out of every 100 that live to be 65 years of age, 45% reach the magical years, and they get booted out of the system because they're too old. Nobody said anything about their ability. It's just the fact they were getting too old. Now, the sad, great American tragedy is that group of men that get fired before they're 65 and therefore lose their retirement benefit. The problem is nobody wants to hire them because they're too old. So they'll go out and get odd jobs if they can find them. Now, I know your retirement plan isn't like that, right? Friends, I want you to know something. If you're counting on Social Security, get a big lunch. Social Security is going to give you 1/4 of what you can't get by on now, and if you're under 42 years of age, you won't see a dime of Social Security benefit. Now, isn't it wonderful to know that your Social Security deduction went up this year? And if you're under 42, you got to leave more money at the office and never expect to have it in return. Isn't that wonderful? How many were asked to go back and vote in Washington when they passed that law? You know it's already been passed for next year, too, rate and base, and therefore you're going to pay more next year? 45% get to be 65 years old and sadly realize the company plan isn't going to do it either. I'm fully vested in one of the largest corporate plans in the history of the United States. Fully vested with 13 years of service. At Christmas time this year, I got a letter and I had to be amused by it. And I'm going to tell it to you because some of you don't believe it, but it's true. After 13 years of my life, nothing less than a 60-hour work week, nothing less, never a vacation, never with my family, all the time busting my brains out for somebody else. My full, total vested benefits are $36 a month beginning the day I turn 65. Now, you see, I didn't read the small print down at the bottom of this particular plan. That's a good plan because a bunch of CPAs wrote it, right? Now, Yeah, you bet. I'm going to tell you who the company plans are for, the president and vice president, and that's it. And the government makes you throw in the employees just to make it look good. Now watch. They said I can wait until I'm 65 and begin to draw it, or I could make a fair and equitable settlement. 13 years of my life would be cashed in right now. I could get a check for $392 and they'd call it even. $13 years worth $392 of blood, sweat, and tears. You ever see somebody get divorced because they were working for somebody else so hard they forgot that they were married and wound up with nothing, got hold in the bag, and here all the time they were chasing something that'd never be? And they got told about a door. You won't make it. There's no way to butt your head through that wall, Severn. There's no way to make it in the job. There's no possible way you'll succeed. Use the door. Go into business for yourself. Get smart. They won't listen. Well, I wrote them a letter back and said, you keep that right on stock. I don't need $392, and I'm going to enjoy the misery that you're going to have to go through for the next 30 years of putting monthly statements out on me. Keep your $32 a month, because I don't need it. Now watch. 5 years ago, I'd have took them up on it. You ever have a creditor coming down your back and you'll do anything you need to get another $200 or $300 up? I'm going to promise you, friends, if $1,000 a month makes a difference in your life, you hear what I'm trying to tell you tonight. I'm not down here to entertain you. I'm down here to point some things out, and I want you to understand them. 45% who live to be 65 got to rely on relatives. They move in with their kids. You ever seen it happen? Then everybody can be miserable together. 30% don't have any relatives. They will go to the public welfare system with a handout because they've been taught how to have a free lunch in this country. 23% won't go to relatives, won't go to welfare, have too much pride for either one. They'll go out and get odd jobs because at 65 they're non-productive people. They wind up mowing lawns and fixing automobiles and just puttering around. Broke, but they got to eat. And if you'll total those three numbers up, you'll see that 98 out of every 100 people in America today that live to be 65 are controlled by money and cannot live life with any kind of financial dignity. They're broke. They've got two things in common. Number one, they all work hard. You ever heard somebody say, God, I'm working hard? Now listen, and they all work for somebody else. They got good jobs. There ain't no such thing. I know it's tough if you got a good one, you think. But I'll tell you why there's no such thing. You'll never be paid what you're worth. As long as somebody else signs the bottom line on your paycheck, baby, you're going to be paid the least amount that it costs to replace you. Now, you need to understand that. If you don't think that's true, if you think, I love the guy that says, I got good job security. Well, then take 60 days off, start tomorrow, don't tell anybody you're going, don't tell them when you'll be back, and see how secure your position is. There's no such thing as a good job. Now watch this. If you're going to succeed in America, it's real simple. Don't work for somebody, work for yourself. Do what economics in America means. Free enterprise. Go into business for yourself. Be rewarded in direct proportion to the fruits of your own effort and labor. But don't just run out and get into business, for heaven's sakes. Don't follow somebody so close that when they go over the cliff, you follow them. Check the fruit of the tree of where you're headed in your life, because you may not like where you're going to wind up. I love it in Idaho this time of year because we get a lot of heavy snowfall. I mean heavy snowfall. And we've had a tough winter up there this year. And I love to get my motorhome out on the freeway when it's snowing hard, because it's a classic example of sheep. And I'm talking human sheep. Now listen. So many people have been taught to listen to somebody else and let somebody else do all their thinking for them and let somebody else make all the decisions for them. They never know how to make any decisions for themselves. And you put them in a position where they need to make a decision, and they'll come up with something brilliant like, oh, no. You don't think I know what I'm talking about? Going to a restaurant tonight when we're through here, and you see a husband and wife that aren't involved in the business that we're talking about here tonight, sitting down after 30 or 40 years of living together across from a table. They'll pick up the menu, and they'll just sit there, won't say anything, just look at each other. And then something like this will be the conversation. What are you going to have? What does the wife always say? I don't know. What are you going to have? Here's the hero over here with all the decision possibilities of his family. Oh, I just don't know. What are you going to have? They don't know how to make a decision because when they grew up, the parents made all the decisions for them, did all the thinking for them. They went right into a school system and the teacher did all the thinking for them. They were taught how to go to work for somebody else and that's what happened to them, and their boss did all the thinking for them. And you put them in a position where they've got to succeed in life and make a decision, and they'll say, God, I don't know. Success begins with a decision. And failure to make a decision guarantees failure in life. So 98% of American people wind up dead or broke by age 65 in this country today because of the school system. They were taught how to good education and training. I am a licensed practicing CPA in the state of Idaho. I'm not practicing anymore, but I'm still licensed. At 6.5 years of college, I took 1 hour of instruction from anybody that had done how they were taught what they were teaching me how to do. And the only reason I took an hour of instruction from that guy is because he didn't have enough guts to make it in the real world, went out there, got his finger slapped, and dashed back into the college. Because A students wind up teaching and B students wind up working for C students. And never forget that. I just a C student trying to see my way through. I never got whooped up on big grades. The more education you have, I guarantee you, the greater your money problems will be. Did you ever see a wealthy professor? Now, if there's some in here, just relax. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. It's called checking the fruit. Now, I'm back here in Idaho in the snow, because I haven't forgot you. I do a lot of this, jump from one place to the other. When it snows real heavy. Now, the reason I tell you that is because what happens right here at the University of Texas, isn't that what's here? The Longhorns right here in Dallas? Uh-oh. What? SMU right here in Dallas? What's going to happen this spring semester on the SMU campus? Here they're going to have all these great, big, grade A, summa cum laude, mortarboard, card-carrying members in the graduating class step out there. Can you just see it? I mean, they'll come strutting across there, smiling. Their mother-in-law will be giving them a scoot. They got, our son's got a title, see, she can brag about him. They'll take the graduation diploma, smile one more time, and start on across the stage. Now, how would you like it if on the other side of the stage there's a midget? And he was just sitting here like this, and he said, you know, you're still smiling, getting all your friends to take pictures of it. Hey, you just look down and say what, man? Hey, dummy. 98% chance of being dead or broke before you turn 65. Enjoy the trip. Now, what would a graduate say? Impossible! I don't believe it! Yeah, it's true. We've been keeping track of people ever since America became an industrialized nation. 98 out of 100 don't make it. The more education they got, the worse their jobs are. Oh, come on! Wait a minute! If that were true, these people would have told me. They would have not let me spend 5 or 6 or 7 years of my life and thousands of dollars getting an education so I knew how to fail. They'd have told me. Pigs don't know pigs stink. Careful who you listen to. Now, I'm not putting teachers down. If you're a teacher and that makes you mad, you need to listen. I point that out to tell you that broke people cannot help broke people. And if you want to listen to somebody that's broke, get ready, baby, because you'll be just like them. You want to catch a cold? Get around somebody that's got a cold. You want a case of the poverties? Get around somebody that's busted. You'll catch them. Be just like them. The senior graduating class at SMU will be hauled into little cubbyhole rooms in the month of May if the graduation is in June. 30 days prior to graduation, and all the big companies will come around, and before they'll ever have a chance to go out and get into business for themselves or succeed in any ways and means, they'll sign their life away on a contractual obligation as an employee to a large company. And sucked right out of the school system into a 98% failure rate. And then they say, God, why didn't somebody tell me? We're trying to tell you something there. You're here tonight because people care about your future, but you've got to care about your future. You've got to be the one that says, I'm going to make it, period. That's the way that it is. Then, if you've got that out of your way, you just need to meet 3 criteria to succeed. But before I tell you what those are, let me finish my snowy road story. When it snows hard in Idaho, and it can, I like to get my big motor home out. Did you know that there's a difference between following a motor home and driving a motor home? Did you know there's a significant difference? When you're driving it and having a nice Diet Pepsi or a cool drink and a big ham sandwich there, you don't even know the people are behind you. But if you're in a Toyota getting your chin beat to death with your knees, you get mad. Ah, them road hogs! Danger to the society! Now, I speak from both sides. I prefer driving them than following them. I'll tell you that right now. But I like to get that coach out on the road, and the harder it's snowing, the better I like it. And I like to get slowed way down. Get out on a road where they can't pass me because it's snowing too hard to see around, and slow her down to about 20 miles an hour. Just creep. And stack on the freeway now, because we have a lot of vacant freeways, kind of like you got down here, a lot of roads, not many cars to put on them. 40, 50 cars stacked up behind me. You know, the guy in the last 5 cars, they're screaming. They're mad at their wives. Little things are making them mad. Then I'll watch real close, and when I see an overpass, one that I know you can go up and then come back down on, I just love it. Because the snow's deep, and they're just following the ruts in the road, you know. They ain't looking up what's happening in life. They're just following the tire tracks. And, man, I just come right up there, and I go right off the exit. I never stop. I go right up through the stop sign and right back down on the freeway. And 40 automobiles come right up over the exit sign and right back down because they're so busy following the tracks in the snow, they never look to see where the leader's going. And there's a big message in life there. So busy being broke. Man, they're driving hard. Why do people fail? Because they never check it out. They never check to see what they're getting into. Today, right now, in the United States of America, 500 businesses will fail this week. It had never in the history of the American system have more businesses been failing than we've got right now. They can't even believe it back in Washington. Now, you tell me why they're failing. I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. Lack of money and lack of knowledge. They don't have enough money to keep up with a double-digit interest rate. They don't have enough money to short-term borrow anything. They can't floor any inventory. When they do sell something, nobody can afford it, so they sell it on credit, and they can't collect. And they got cash flow problems running out the yin-yang. That means they ain't making no money. They can't understand what's wrong in the country. You see, if you're going to make it in life, you go into business for yourself, and then you learn how to work smart. Now, there's a big difference. Most people in business for themselves today don't know how to work smart because nobody's ever taken the time to teach it because it's not taught in any university in the country. And the only way in the world you'll ever learn how to work smart is to understand the principles of success. Now, if they're not taught in the school system, where do you learn them? There are only 2 places. You can read about them in any success principle book ever written. What a drag to read something like that, right? 5 years ago, the best reading that I could come up was Playboy and Penthouse. That was my reading habit. To read in a success principle book, you got to be out of your mind. You know why? Because my reading was basically deferred income taxation. You want to go to sleep in a hurry? Read how that works. So most people we find are very poor readers. Now, I'll tell you something we find in the circles of successful people. Leaders are readers. Successful people read every day. I had a good friend that was on a cruise ship here not long ago. We were floating around the Caribbean, having a good time with a bunch of people down there. He ran out of reading material. His name's Bill Britt. He totally had read up everything he had. He's a tremendous human being and leader of men. A tremendous leader of men. So you know what he did? Now just listen. He reached into the drawer of the stateroom desk and pulled out the menu and read it. Read it 3 times before he crawled into bed. You know why? Because successful people understand the second principle of success. You cannot create something greater than what you are. You cannot give out something you don't have. If you put nothing into your brain, nothing will flow out of your mouth. And don't forget that. Now watch. 98% of the people in Dallas, Texas tonight are putting negative into their mind, and that's all. Where do you suppose the average Dallas Texan is right now? He's at home excited in front of the idiot box, practicing for his future. What's on, honey? I'm not putting them down. Doing the same thing in Boise. They can't understand why they're getting killed by taxes and inflation. They're so totally excited about paying Uncle Sam all their money this April 15th, they can't stand it. They get to sell something so they can pay their taxes. Or worse, go down and borrow it. Why is that? Because they don't have an option. They don't have an alternative. Now let me tell you this. If you take in something, you're able to give it out. If you don't take anything in, there's no way in the world you can give it out. And confused people don't understand that simple principle. Now watch. Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? You ever seen an egg lay a chicken? Ain't no problem at all when you know the truth. Eggs don't lay chickens. The chicken came first. God created a chicken, the chicken created the egg. But confused people that don't understand the simple truth I just gave you say, well, I don't know, boy, that's a tough question. I know the chickens come out of eggs. You see the question there? The Creator has to be greater than that which gets created, which means that if you want to succeed, you've got to find out what successful people do and then simply duplicate their work habits. That's all it takes. And everybody's running around trying to find the secret of success when it's right smack in front of the face. Success is so simple, it's incredible. But I'm telling you who makes it hard and who screws it up. People. They try to make it tougher than something that it is. Because they don't have a ways and means to accomplish it. I am totally convinced that never in the history of the SMU campus has anyone come across the stage, took their diploma, smiled out in the audience and said, it's my whole purpose in life. I've spent 4 years and $40,000, and my whole purpose in life is to stay broke the rest of it. I want to find a good woman and make her work until we die together. Now, at about age 22, when a man enters the work system, what's his goal in life? To succeed. Do you think 98 out of 100 were planning on failing? No way. They were going to do what you were going to do when you were 22 years old. Set the world on fire. Do you remember all those lies you told your wife the month you got married? We got married the day they walked on the moon. When Neil Armstrong started talking about that one giant step for mankind, I said, sweetie, you ain't seen nothing yet. 8.5 years ago, she was working so we could afford to use Toyota. 8.5 years later. You see, what happens is people don't understand that if you want to succeed, you've got to understand the principles of success. That's just the way that it is. It's the only way to succeed. Because you can't create something you don't know. Now watch. Money is not the only ingredient to success, but neither is poverty. Money won't buy you happiness, but neither will being busted. Money is part of success, very similar to breathing is part of life. Would you agree? Not the only part of it, but a very vital part. If you want to succeed, you've got to possess what you've been criticized for having all your life, and that is a dream. God said it in Proverbs when He said, man without vision shall perish. Friend, the word shall, and He isn't kidding about it. Now, it doesn't mean possibly, could, might, oughta. It means shall. A person without a dream just gets up day after day and week after week and year after year and does the same thing. Never wants more, never has more, because broke people never need much. You talk to them about dreams, goals, and desires, and they'll say, I don't know. Where do you see yourself 4 or 5 years from now? Oh, God, I've never thought about it. Man, I hadn't thought about it either. I was living from paycheck to paycheck. As far ahead as I could think is 30 days. The first of every month. And on the second of every month, I'd had it all spent. And as professional people, we would eat pancakes the last 5 days of the week, and the only people that knew it was me and my wife. If we wanted to do something big, we had to make major financial sacrifices in another part of our life. We used to go places not because we wanted to go, but because we thought if we didn't go, it looked bad. And so we would sacrifice our children's fund for the sake of keeping up with the Joneses. It's called status, and it's for stupid people. Status equals low self-image equals no money. Because we didn't have a dream. Now, Ben Franklin said it a little bit differently several hundred years ago. He said, people without a dream are mentally dead. Most people die at age 22. Sadly, they're not buried until about 67. Friends, when this dies, all this does is wait around to go in the hole at the same time. Now watch. Now watch this. You've got two aspects to your body. Two income-producing capabilities to your body. One is a multi-million-dollar income-producing capability from your neck up. The other is a $7.50 hour net producing capability from your neck down. Which one do you feed the most? You know why 98% of American people are busted? They spend all their daytime feeding that part that nets them out about $7.50 an hour. And I know that isn't you, right? Inflation has taken it all the way up to $8.50, but spending power is back down to $5. Why don't you start learning how to work smart? Feed your brain. Feed the one thing that will take you where you want to go if you're prepared. Now, there's three things that you must meet, three criteria to meet in order to succeed. First off, you got to have a dream. You got to see something before you have it. The second thing is you got to want more in life than what you presently got. And the third thing is you got to be willing to get up off your rusty dusty and go do something about it. The question is, will you? You see, when somebody started talking to me about a dream 5 years ago, I didn't have any because of the reality. Do you know that? If you don't think that's true, take your tire jack down to the store tomorrow and try to change it for beef. You got to have money to convert dreams into reality, whether your dream is big or little, small or large, material or non-material, tangible or intangible. But money will control you if you never learn how to control it. So let's talk about your dream. Let's talk about what you want out of life. Because if you have a dream, you've got to decide you're going to have it, then you'll find a way to get it. Because there's never a money problem in life. There's only an idea problem. The sad fact is you've been prepared to fail. You've been told how to fail. I watched a commencement exercise at a university down in Utah, state of Utah, a year ago, and Milton Friedman gave the commencement exercise. Gave the commencement talk. You ever heard of him? A pretty big shot in the world of economics, a free enterpriser. And he's a very short man. He stood up on a box to see over the top of the podium. And he had his mortarboard on. He was an honorary doctor or something. And all the deans, all the schools sitting around behind him. And he gave an eloquent talk. It was absolutely breathtaking. It was something to behold. The whole place was filled. And as he finished his talk, he said, and now let me be totally honest with everyone in the room. You people have spent 5 years of your life preparing yourself to succeed in the American system. You people have gone through hell in order to get to where you're at. You've sacrificed money you didn't have. You've done without. You've totally denied yourself any and all things so you can be recognized here as a graduate. But all you've been taught how to do is fail. Not one of you received 1 hour of instruction on how to go into business for yourself and succeed in the American free enterprise system. And I think that's sad, and walked off the stage. And you should have seen the deans. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm telling you, their jawbones started hitting that floor. Because he spoke the truth. Now, I'm going to tell you, people that are failing don't like to hear the truth. And that's why a loser can't stand a winner. More than about 2.5 minutes. Now, we don't discriminate against anybody. We don't want anybody to fail. I'm not against poor people. I'm not against helping somebody that's down and out and wants to make it. But I am against helping people be poor. And I know that any time you give somebody something for nothing, you're hurting them. What we're going to do tonight is give you a dream. What we're going to do tonight is give you a cause, a reason. And then we're going to give you a fishing pole and teach you how to fish. Because, you see, you only qualify yourself for success when you have a dream, you want more, and you're willing to do something. That just puts you in a qualification. Now you need 2 other things in order to make it. The other 2 things that go hand in hand with that is you got to have a vehicle to get you where you want to go, and then you must receive the proper advice on how to use the vehicle. And that gets back into my story about trailing them through the snow. Most people are following what they think is a good deal, and it'll wind them up nowhere. If I'd have made the wrong turn and never come back on the freeway, they'd have turned and gone somewhere off into the deserts of Idaho. Only after they got to the point where they realized something was wrong would they have stopped and said, gee whiz, maybe we should have watched back there at the exit sign. Well, you see, most people don't have a ways and means to succeed, and as a result, they fail. People don't want to fail. I can't believe anybody in this room's total purpose in life is to be financially failing, or to be broke at age 65 or dead. Why then do so many people have that happen to them? Real simple. They don't have a way to make a success occur. Now, if you're going to succeed in America, you've got to do what the American system teaches. Go into business for yourself. Now, how can you do that? You see, we find most people want to go into business for themselves. Why don't most people go into business for themselves? Would you mind telling me, in your opinion? Lack of money and lack of knowledge. Most people don't have an extra $150,000 laying around so they can start a business, and that's about what it takes today. And the ones that don't use much to get involved, the system wipes them out because they're undercapitalized. I got to be careful. Those are businessmen. That's almost sound like a CPA talking. If you don't know what that means, it means they start out with a zero cash balance and end up soon with a zero cash balance. You look in the paper today and you'll see that the bankruptcy rate is larger than the divorce rate, and we got real trouble when that happens. But you also see a 55% divorce rate in this country today, and I'll promise you that 90% of it's caused from lack of money. The husband and wife separate because the wife has to go back to work to keep up with all the problems in this country and the economics. It drives a wedge in their marriage. They aren't happy. Women don't like to be married to broke men. Do you know that? That's why every other house you drive by in Dallas got marriage problems. That's what a 55% divorce rate means. You know that? Do you think kids get excited about seeing mom and dad scrap and fight and be miserable all the time because there's never any money to eat? Do you think that people enjoy watching their kids go hungry? Friend, when you can't pay your bills to eat, you got a mess financially. And if you've got it on a part-time basis, with no money down, just 8 to 10 hours a week of smart effort, learning some things about duplication, I could become financially independent and personally free at a minimum $50,000 a year part-time second profit out of my own business and never have to quit being a CPA. But minimum net out $50,000 a year on the side. Oh, I said it's too good to be true. I said this. It doesn't cost any money. It's got to be illegal. Every fool knows it takes money to make money. That's what I said. Only broke people will tell you that. Because it's a great way to justify why they're not doing anything. See, if it took money to make money, you'd never make it. Nobody would. Because nobody was born with a fistful of cash. You ever see an announcement? Born this day, 6 pounds, 8 ounces, and a handful of hundreds. And therefore, if it took money to make money, nobody had any money to begin with, nobody'd ever have any money to make any money, we'd all be broke. If you're new here, you'll figure that out when you get home and listen to the tape. I said, I can't believe anything could be that good, Steve, and I'm going to tell you why I couldn't believe it. Because I've been working as a CPA for 8.5 years. I worked 60 hours a week. I never saw my family. I lived in an airplane in a suitcase in a motel room alone. And I wasn't making $50,000 a year. As a matter of fact, only 3 in every 100 people in America make that kind of money. So it was very difficult for me to believe that I could even make it, but let alone part-time secondary income. But it excited me. Because I'd ask you to compare what your option is to that. I was shown how in a 2 to 5 year period of time to make that kind of money. I couldn't believe it. Because I didn't have a dream. I had totally accepted the fact that my life was going to be that's the way that it was, and we'd take our little promotions as they came, and we'd get by, and honey, quit wanting that big nice house because we can't afford it, so let's just quit talking about it. Aren't you happy with that car? Here's language of broke people. Aren't you ever satisfied? What do you want a big house for? They're just more expensive to heat. I have a very dear friend out in Spokane, Washington. Just got the plans back for his new home. He and his wife, 20,000 square feet. Do you know who they make homes that big for? People that can afford them. 5 years ago, that same guy drove 5.5 hours one way in a motorhome and helped my wife and I begin a plan, a 2 to 5 year plan. Couple of nights of TV a week, kept my job, kept my position, got my promotions, but an incredible thing happened. My big dream was to make $400 a month out of this business, and when I made that, in 2 months from when I began, I got excited because I understood that to make more, I didn't have to do anything more. All I needed to do was keep doing the same things I did to make $400 a month. That's all. You see, you can only make money one of 3 ways in this country. You need to know that. That's honest and legal. The first way to make money is with money. It's a process called investments. Great way to do it. Unfortunately, there's a few drawbacks. What's the first thing you need to make money this way? Money! You got to have front-end capital, and it's over and above what it costs you to live. Most people don't have any of that, so they don't get in an investment. There's also a degree of risk involved with investments, and that means you got to lose it, or at least take the chance of losing it. And most people won't take that risk. I got to tell you a story because I think it's funny. Last week I was getting my hair cut before we went over to. I just come back from Disneyland. I've been down there for all week. But just before I got there, I got my hair cut, and I was sitting in the barber shop in Boise, Idaho. And I know something about investments. I know it's a great way to lose money. Harvard School of Business released a study last year, and it said 98% of the people that get involved in the money market lose money, 1% breaks even, and 1% makes money. So what he basically said is that there's 99% chance of losing money or breaking even in an investment. And I was sitting in the barber's chair, getting my hair clipped and doing what I needed to do that right, and a guy came in. Guess what he was? A commodities stock broker. Man, I know all about them because I'd already lost the ranch once in that deal. And so I was sitting there and just listening because I like to do more listening. I find leaders listen. Successful people got a bigger ear than they got a mouth. There's a message there. God gave you 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth. I suppose he's trying to tell you something? 4 of those 5 sources are input. 1's output. Most people use them in reverse proportion. I was chipping my hair away, and the guy says, "Hey, Joe," to the barber. He said, "You know anybody's got any money?" Now, my barber's in the business with me that I'm involved in, and he kind of sat there, and he said, "Well, yeah." He said, "I know one guy that's got some money." The broker said, "Well, who is he?" Trying to drum up a little business. You see, investment brokers are having a little hard time. Kind of like real estate people today. Kind of like building contractors. Because of the economy. The barber said, "This guy sitting right here's got a little cash." He said, "You want to get into an investment, a real good deal?" I said, "Well, it depends on what it is." He said, "Well, let me tell you about it." And I just let him run off at the mouth. He explained to me the greatest benefits, all only in $50,000 increments. "Man, we can get you into this kind of a certificate and that kind of certificate." He said, "It's making 14 and 7/8% interest." Well, I know inflation's 18%. So it seemed to me a good way to lose 4% real quick. I didn't tell him that because I knew something he didn't know. I also know that he was offering me a 99% chance to lose money. He didn't know that. And I'm telling you, if you're brand new here tonight, there's some people that know something you don't know, and we're trying to get a few points across here. And when you're showing this business idea to people, remember that you know what they don't know. So I let the guy explain to me. Well, man, blah, 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 blah. 20 minutes I heard how good it was. Finally he said, "Well, do you want some?" And I said, "Boy, I sure do." "You bet I do." He said, "Good." He said, "How much do you want?" I looked him dead in the eye and I said, "The same amount that you got." He didn't sell many shares that afternoon because he didn't own any. You see, I'm trying to tell you there. You can listen to the wrong people in life and go broke in a hurry through an investment. So I knew enough about that not to want anything to do with an investment idea. Now, I'm not saying there's something wrong with it. I just tell it's a good way to lose it. And what I'm going to talk about and have been all night has nothing to do with investment. Now, the second way you can make money is do what the schools teaches you. Get some good knowledge, education, experience, and go out and provide a service. Isn't that wonderful? Man, you can work hard all your life. I'll promise and guarantee you, if this is how you make your money, you'll never succeed. Now, I'm going to tell you why so you understand. Number one, you've limited yourself to your own ability. The only way you'll ever make money is what you do yourself. You don't get paid for what other people do, only what you do. And the second thing you've done is you've limited yourself to 24 hours a day in which you can provide that service. I don't care how bad you want to do it, you can't work 25 hours a day. You ever see the guy that married his job instead of his family? Might as well take his wedding band off and put it on the desk because he's never home. Somebody said one time, when should you tell your wife you love her? Another guy said, before somebody else does. Didn't mean to throw a bullseye there, but I told you I'd shoot you in the smokestack tonight. This is a good way to go broke and die early. That is what 36% that die of heart attacks do. Pressure will wipe you out. On the plane the other day, I was flying along with a stress instructor. She's teaching stress classes for corporate executives. Isn't that something? She was uptight as unbelievable. Man chewing her nails and everything else. I said, you're a great teacher. Amazing. You trade hours for dollars, it'll wipe you out. You want to work smart? Learn how to put time to work for you. Time to work for you rather than you working for it. Big difference. Now, I'm not going to talk to you about a service idea tonight because I know those are two ways to fail, but here's what I do know. 98% of American people only know those two ways to make money in this country today, and that's why they fail. Now, I'll promise you can make money these two ways, but you can't have the other side of money. You can make a lot of money those two ways, but you'll never have any time to enjoy it. What good is $2,000 an hour if you haven't got any time to spend it? Guy said, how much did old man Howard Hughes leave when he died? His friend said he left it all. Now the other side of this is also true. In these two ways, you can have a lot of time, but you never have any money to go with it. You ever see somebody get laid off? You ever see a big wig that got the axe? So if you want to fail, get involved in those two ways. You run a 98% chance of not making it, and if you do have money, you won't have any time. If you have time, you won't have any money. And that's why wealthy people today got so many problems. That's why you can make a lot of money today and be totally miserable. That's why money won't buy you happiness. And that's why people won't succeed these two ways. Now, let me tell you something else I know. In these two ways, I don't care how good you are at what you do, there's two things that are going to wipe you out. You need to know this. The first thing is a nice little law passed by our U.S. government called the Progressive Income Tax. And that law basically said the more money you make, the more the government will take. Isn't that exciting? Work harder to have less. Now watch. In Boise, we used to have two sources of income. One was called gross, and the other was called net. Okay? What's your name, please? Go ahead. Which one? Do they have the same thing down here in Texas? Okay. Are you employed or self-employed? You're employed? Okay. Which one is the biggest? Gross! Okay. Which one then is the smallest? Net. Who did all the work to generate gross? You did. Now let me explain. Let me make sure I understand. You did all the work, but you got to keep the little one? That's the one you get? Well, who got the difference? Uncle Sam, the government got the difference. Isn't that wonderful? Right now, the average American pays 42 cents on every dollar he makes to the government in some kind of a crazy tax. I know that has a tendency to bother people when I tell the truth, but it's the truth. And I'm telling you some things right now you need to listen to. Most people in Dallas, Texas will work through the month of May before any money they make goes to stay in their own house. Everything else goes to the government in some kind of a tax. Isn't that wonderful? 15 years ago, 1 in 17 people worked for the government. 10 years ago, 1 in 11 worked for the government. As of last year, 1 in 4 worked for the government. That scares me. You know who pays their salary? Your tax dollars. But here's why I'm scared. When the government starts paying your tax, when the government starts paying your salary, you do what the government tells you to do. Now, if you want to live like that, I suggest you catch a plane, fly about 11 hours from here. You can live in East Germany. Or any other communist country, or any other socialist country. And I lived over there for 3 years of my life, and I'm in a position to talk to you about it, and I'm telling you I want nothing to do with it. But we're rapidly beginning to approach a socialistic society. Why? Because the government says you're so stupid you can't take care of yourself, so let us do it for you. Isn't it amazing how we got along without them for so many years? Now, I'm not putting you down if you're in the government. And there's nothing wrong with a good, strong government. We need it, particularly the military side of things. Because the only way you'll ever deal out of a position of strength is by being strong. But there's a whole lot of things that we don't need. The taxpayers continue to fight. Now watch this. The only way you'll ever overcome income taxes is through the law. The only way you'll ever overcome the income tax law is to work with it instead of against it. And the only way to work with it is to understand the benefits of this system and understand that there are tax benefits and incentives written into the law that if you're in business for yourself because you're building free enterprise, you have access to those benefits and you'll make money and keep it. Now broke people call them loopholes because they don't have any. There's no such thing as a tax loophole. Is a legal incentive written into our law that says reward people who are in business for themselves. Give them a benefit to make money and keep it. The business that we're involved in here has more benefits than you can find anywhere else. We've got every benefit everybody in regular business has, plus we've got more. Now watch. For those that are married, your wife can become your full business partner. She too then has all the same tax benefits you've got. Therefore, you can go where you want to go and do what you want to do. How many would rather go on the Love Boat than pay tax? You see the miseries you got to do in this business? You're suffering a lot. How many would rather go skiing than pay tax? How many would rather fly around first class than pay tax? Now listen, I know I'm a foreigner, but listen. There's somebody that's broke in this audience and they're going to say, you can't do that. Yes, you can, but you got to know what you're doing and you got to learn to work with the law. We know what we're doing. How would you like to take 42% of your income and put it back into your lifestyle? You see, don't get into the business I'm talking about here tonight unless you want to make money and have some fun and spend it on you. Now, if you don't spend it, you're going to have to pay tax on it. Will that bother you? That's why we just got back from Disneyland. That's why we stayed in the fanciest, nicest place, the brand new Marriott Hotel. Rooms you can't believe. Now, here's a message. Who does all the work in the Marriott Hotel chain? The employees! Those maids were working themselves to death. Who makes all the money in the Marriott chain? The owner. Isn't it amazing? Now, if you're in regular business out here tonight and you say, well, I've already got tax benefits, I haven't got any tax problems, great. But you can't cover the other base. Now listen, right now there's a rascal called a rate of inflation killing people in this country. And all inflation is when the government spends money it doesn't have. And if you and I did what the government did, we'd be in jail. How long can you continue to spend money you don't have in Dallas? Take a sheriff about 90 days to find you, wouldn't it? But all the government does is pass a thing called an appropriation and prints phony money. And that devalues your spending power. Now watch, at the rate of 18 cents on the dollar today. Now I know it's not 18% if you watch TV. But they don't show you on TV what you need to see. You get shown on TV what they want you to see in this country today. And I know that's a hard thing for you to understand, but it's true. And my message here is simply this. 98% of American people in this country today cannot overcome taxes or inflation, and as a result, they lose 60% of their income before they ever get it home. You'll hear them on every corner saying, my God, we worked harder in 1981 than we've ever worked. We made more money than we've ever made. What happened to it? Where is it? If you lose 60% of your income, friends, that means, and you don't even have to be a math major to work this one out, that means that you got 40% of your income that you make today, that you can pay off all your bills, you can own all your automobiles, you can have everything you want to eat, and then you can go out and finish all your dreams. Travel around the world. Can you live the way you want to live on 40% of what you make? Well, in the business I'm going to show you or talk about tonight, and I've already been talking about it, we overcome the income tax law legally. We work with the law instead of against it. We'll show you how to put that money back into lifestyle. And we got one more benefit you won't find anywhere else in America. We overcome the rate of inflation in this business. They tell me there's a recession going on in America today. I refuse to participate. I'm telling you, we have got a business vehicle that can't be found anywhere else. But you see, it's kind of like the door. It's too good to be true. Oh, nothing could be that good. Yes, it is. But you see, when you get kicked in the face, you got to listen. What would be different in your home if you could put 60% of your earnings back into lifestyle and write it off? I was looking for those kinds of benefits, but it won't happen these two ways. The only way that you can overcome the system and the only way you'll ever succeed is getting involved in a business the way every successful business in the history of America has overcome the situation. It's been around since people have been around, but it's not taught in any school system, and therefore people don't know about it. It's a very simple process called duplication. Totally, completely, and excited about. As a matter of fact, if your parents hadn't practiced that principle, you wouldn't be here tonight. So it's nothing new. The only way you need to get involved in it is through a business vehicle. Now, the business vehicle that was shown me 5 years ago, for those that are prepared now, and I think I'm about ready to really get into the meat now, is a business vehicle. It's called whatever your name is. I was shown how to go into my own business and call it anything I wanted to call it, and I happen to call my business Severn Enterprises. I'm the chairman and president of the board. The chairman of the board appoints the president every year in my business, and he does an excellent job. The chairman of the board, with a conference with the president, also sets salary levels, and he does an excellent job. If I want a raise, I go to the mirror and ask, and you'd be surprised at the results you get from asking a mirror. But behind that was a business vehicle. A vehicle that would allow me to get involved in duplication, that would allow me to duplicate the things in life that didn't cost me any money, and that's why the business didn't cost me any money. And there's only two things I know that you can duplicate that involved in your life that didn't cost any money, and that's your own personal time and your own effort. And the only way that can be done is through another human being. Now, the exciting thing is you can get involved in duplication and duplicate yourself as many times as you want, and as a result, you're unlimited in the amount of income you can make. Because it's a business that says help somebody else succeed, and then you benefit. It's a people helping people business. The more people you help succeed, the greater your reward will be. That's the third principle of success. It's called the law of compensation. It says you gotta give in order to get. Now watch. You're not gonna get aggravated. I'm not picking on you, right? If you plant corn, what do you get back? Corn, the very same blasted thing you put in the ground. You get the same amount you put in the ground back, or you get more or less? You get more, 10,000 times more than what went in the ground. Now hear me. You get it back 3 days after you put it in the ground? A whole growing season. What's the average length of corn to grow in West Texas, Central Texas? No. Somebody, I don't know. What is it? Any farmers in here? Anybody knows anything about what? 100 days? Yeah, about 100. Depends on the type, I'm told. On a growing season, there's three very vital, important principles that I just explained to you. Number one, you get back in life what you give out. You give out junk, you'll get junk back. You give out good, you'll get good back. It's called the law of compensation. Number two, you'll get more back than what you give out. It's called the law of increasing returns. Number three, you get back what you give out after you give it out. It's called the law of delayed gratification. Three very vital and important principles of success. But what are you taught? Go down and get a good job, work 10 hours a day, work every 2 weeks, and demand a paycheck. How long would you keep going to work tomorrow if they quit paying you? Said, we'll make it up when we get ready. How many months could you operate with no income? What would you rather have? Be honest with me. Who's pretty new here that's involved in the business? Okay, ma'am. What's your name, please? Pardon me? Okay, Judy, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. Just want to make a point here. What would you rather have? $500,000 cash or a penny a day double for 30 days? What would you rather have? I'll just settle up with you right here tonight. $500,000 in cash or a penny a day double for 30 days? Go ahead, Judy. I'm not trying to hold you. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. Penny a day? Now, did you really want to say that? How many people here would rather have $500,000 cash right now? Don't be afraid to raise your hand. That's what I said. Man, I want the money. See, that's the trouble when you talk to people who are involved in the business, because you brought the principle of delayed gratification. Penny day double for 30 days works out to be over $14 million in cash. But after 7 days, it's 64 cents. Isn't that wonderful? The law of increasing returns, the law of delayed gratification. You see, if you want to succeed, put the principles of success to work for you, then you just need a business vehicle, and that's what the business is all about. You duplicate yourself through other people, you help other people succeed. When you benefit, you make it. J. Paul Getty did the same thing in the oil business right here in the great state of Texas. That's where he got his start, here in Oklahoma, and then went into Southern California. He had a very simple philosophy that helped him become one of the wealthiest men the world has ever known. He said, surround yourself with ambitious people, cause them to make a great deal of money first, and don't worry about your reward. Why? Because he understood the law of compensation. Well, we do the same thing through a business vehicle. You duplicate yourself as many times as you so desire. Therefore, as you help other people benefit, you reward. You got a business that works with anybody, anywhere, through friends, neighbors, relatives, casual acquaintances, or strangers. We know that in a 5-year period on Working Smart, you can increase your annual income not a penny less than $50,000 a year. Minimum. It's proven. We've been around for 22 and a half years. It is the fastest growing business in operation today in the American states and in the free world. It has generated and caused more people to become millionaires than any other business in the history of America. We've grown every year for the last 22. We've never had a dip in sales. We've never had a bad year. And it's good, and it works. It's the doorway to your future, to your dreams, your goals, your desires. The question is, do you want to go through the door? What's it called? Severn Enterprises, because it's my business. Because it's my name. Now, if you get excited about what we're talking about here tonight and want to begin a business, you can call it Severn Enterprises. If that turns you on, it won't hurt my feelings. I don't care. Or you can call it anything else you want to call it. But I want you to understand one thing. You are in business for you and nobody else. Now you got something to work with in the American capitalistic free enterprise system. And that's why successful people work for themselves. They don't let somebody else control them. Now watch. There's a servicing corporation that makes all this possible. Puts the whole thing together in a great big package for the brand new ones here that really still don't know why you're here. That corporation is the only one of its kind in the history of the world. It's the only corporation its size and kind that's on a cash basis. Doesn't have any stockholders except the two co-founders. Two very young, some of the most highly respectable men in America. Two of the greatest business leaders ever in the history of America. They own all the stock. You know, they're doing pretty good, so there's not a whole lot of cash dividends to get declared out of profit. The largest manufacturing facility created in the U.S. continent. The entire operation covers over 700 acres of property. The entire operation cost over $800 million to build, and there's not one penny of debt owed against it. Because we have no stockholders and owe no debt, 65% of sales get paid back to the people in this business through 9 separate and distinct profits that we offer. You get paid each one of those profits based on the same effort. It's called working smart. Could you handle 9 paychecks where you're working every month, each one's bigger than the last? But you see, it's camouflaged. The whole area is camouflaged, so when people look at it, they can't believe it's true. Last year, sales were $1.4 billion. What's 65% of $1.4 billion? It's a gob. It's a bunch. Over $800 million got paid back to the people smart enough to be involved in the business vehicle. This year, we'll probably pay back more in profit than last year's sales were. No other company in America could continue with that kind of an exciting growth story. You know why? Because every other company's got a terrible debt structure. And instead of taking all that profit and paying it back to the people making the business work, they get to put it back into debt service. Well, Amway pays no debt. Did you hear that? Amway pays no debt. The servicing corporation is known as Amway Corporation. The most exciting going someplace country in business anywhere in the world. I'm proud of it because I'm proud to be in a business that builds the American system up rather than trying to tear it down. And the camouflage is a box of soap. And I think it's totally humorous. I laugh every time because 5 years ago, when I heard the word Amway, after a guy had explained it, and there's a whole plan here that for the new people I haven't gotten into tonight, you need to sit down with who invited you here and explain it so they can understand it. But there's a whole system that's so simple it'll blow your socks off. All you got to do is put a little pressure on it and walk on through. and be willing to consistently and persistently put forth 8 to 10 hours a week of effort. And you're going to become very wealthy. 3 promises we make people if you listen to us. Number 1, you live longer. Number 2, you be happier. Number 3, you be wealthy. When I heard Amway, I sat with a 3-piece suit in a rubber tree plant on the 9th floor of one Capitol Center in Boise. I had the second fanciest office in Boise. Who had the fanciest? My boss! You ever notice how that works? Amway? Never heard of it. Here I was, a big shot, flew all over this country, worked on some of the biggest audits in the entire United States of America, and I hadn't even heard Paul Harvey talk about it on the weekend news. I just looked at the guy and I said, is this thing for real? And he said, yeah. I said, is it honest? He said, yeah. I said, is it legal? He said, yeah. I said, you and me are going to be wealthy. I couldn't imagine anybody in their right mind that would turn down an opportunity to increase their income an extra $50,000 a year. On honest and legal, couple of nights a week of effort without giving up the security of what they now have. I couldn't imagine anybody that ignorant. I know it's tough, but I'm telling you the truth. And every time I show somebody this idea and show them how to get involved in business for themselves and offer my time, my effort, and my knowledge, which I'm willing to do at no charge, now watch, and they say, well, we wouldn't be interested, I get excited. The reason I get excited is because I just made $50, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. It's just the same as if they'd taken a $50 bill out of the pocket and given it to me every time somebody says no. So I thank them. I say, appreciate it, thanks for the 50. Then I look them dead in the eye and I say, now I'm going to tell you something, friend, just because I care about you, whether you want to buy it or not, let me say what the truth is. The truth is this, you haven't said no to me. You've said no to you. The first thing you've said is, no, I don't want any money. Oh, I like being broke. No, I don't want to buy anything in wholesale. I'd rather pay retail for everything. That way down at the store I can give all my money away at once. No, I don't want any tax benefits. None whatsoever. I enjoy giving all my money to the IRS. No, I don't want any permanent income in my life. I want to die broke with total insecurity so that when I'm gone, my wife and family get nothing. That's what you said no to. So have a good life. And welcome to the 98% Club. Because America needs broke people and you're going to make a good one. Now somebody said, you really say that? The answer is yes. Because I'm going to tell you something about me. I am not going to stand there and let somebody fail and be with them. I'm not going to help somebody go down the tubes in this country. I'm going to take my time, knowledge, and effort and give it away, and that's just what your leadership is doing here. The people that have started this business in this area and are building it are among the finest in the whole world of Amway, and we're proud of that. I want you to know that. You're not messing around here with a song and dance operation. We know what we're doing. We know how to run this business as a very strong, profitable, and professional organization. But here's what I like about it. Ain't no big shots. We don't care who you are or where you're from. We don't care about your background. If you've got 15 degrees, you're the same as a guy that's never been to school. And if you're shown this business by somebody that's been in it longer than you ought to have enough sense to realize that and understand that you can't create something greater than what you are, and you can't use the principles of failure to succeed with, so you ought to have enough sense to listen to them. Because you see, in this business, by virtue of the way it works, your upline, those are the people that brought you into the business, want nothing more to see you succeed. That's what they want. When you make it, everybody else makes it. It's called mutually beneficial. That's why we'll work as hard for you as you'll work for yourself without any charge. There's only been one man in my life offer to work as hard for me as I'd work for me and not charge me. His name's Steve Kirkham. I love him. He's my sponsor. He drove 3 hours through a snowstorm to show me this business. And I about blew him out. But you see, I was prepared the night I saw this business. And I'm going to tell you something. We have found out over the time we've been involved in this business that dreamers get in and non-dreamers don't want nothing to do with it. Isn't that exciting? I get excited because you see, a non-dreamer ain't going to succeed anyway, because what's success? The progressive realization of a dream. And without a dream, there's no success and can never be. What's the progressive realization of nothing? You understand what I'm trying to get to. We also know that you can't keep a dreamer out of this business. Because we'll guarantee it'll allow you to have everything in life you ever wanted. Because it will generate an unlimited source of income if you'll work the plan. If you're in this business and you ain't making any money from it, it's because you ain't duplicating work habits. Amway works if you work Amway. But just like the door, somebody say, "Oh man, don't do that deal, man. I've seen one of them doors before. I tried to go through one of them doors before. Somebody locked it on me, man. I lost an eyebrow." Well, earlier I told you that Walt went through the door, stood out there and said, "Come on in." Lynn was out there with him. "Come on in." And we gone through it. We'll unlock them for you. We'll open doors for you that'll take you where in life it is you want to go if you listen to the successful people in this organization that know how it works. Because you see, I don't want anybody in here not to make it. I would have liked to have you all with us over in Anaheim. Have you ever come splashing down through the Matterhorn on that ride, twisting and circling, and had your whole family with you? Had all your kids behind you, hooting and scooting and hollering. When you hit the bottom of that, whammo through the water, and it's dynamite, and you get off and laugh and giggle? Because you butt your kids all day passes, and they can ride anything they want as many times as they want. When I was broke, we went to the fair. I gave them 15 cents. They'd have a ball. Can you imagine being able to walk out through a moonlit area and beautiful area of Southern California with your wife hand in hand, talking about your future, the dreams and goals and desires that you want, squeezing her and knowing that it's tax season and you ain't in the office, saying, "Honey, I'm glad you're with me. Isn't it a great room we got? Isn't it wonderful that we're now free and have been? Isn't it wonderful that we can have our family down here and afford to take them with us? Isn't it great to know that we're in the American system rather than being the losing part of it? Isn't it wonderful to know that we're on the road to somewhere rather than being on the road to nowhere?" I shudder every time I think that I almost turned this business down. I'm going to tell you why I almost turned it down. Because I got started in it and I found out two things real quick. Number one, I was the most ambitious person I knew. And number two, I didn't have any friends. I'll tell you that when the first 6 months I was in this business, I thought I was trying to give a disease away. But I want you to know something. The difference between successes and failures is that successful people are consistent and persistent. When you have a dream and you've got a way to make your dreams come true, baby cakes, I'm telling you, the only thing that'll stop you is you. And we even overcome that one if you're smart enough in this business. It's called an upline that are willing to help and give and share and be part of you. That'll laugh with you, cry with you, and want to be your friend. But you got to understand that, and that's why you need to get plugged in. Now, hear this. 4 things that got to be if you're ever going to succeed. Now, they just got to be. Number 1, you got to know what you want and why you want it. Number 2, you got to know what you'll give up in order to get what you want and when you expect to have it. In other words, you got to set a date on it. The third thing you got to do is you've got to begin to associate and be around successful, positive, goal-oriented people that are willing to help you get what it is you're after. And the fourth thing you must do is that you must have a plan of how you're going to get it and then be smart enough to consistently and persistently work the plan, and you will have it. You cannot stop somebody that won't be stopped that has those 4 things working for them. What do you want and why do you want it? What you'll give up and when do you expect to have it? You got to associate with successful people, gain their knowledge and wisdom. And then you got to plan your work and work your plan. That's what Amway is, friends. It's a plan to help you get in life what it is you're after. And you can have anything you want. We have a little saying in this business, 2 of them I'll repeat. Number 1, if you can dream it, you can have it. We know that God created the principles of success, and I don't care where you are in life, that is a true statement. He's for you, not against you. And I'm telling you, if it's a positive thought, it's from your Creator, and if it's a negative thought, it's from His adversary. And that's just the way that it is. I'll tell you something else. Your upline's for you. And if you do what we teach, There's no way to keep from having it. Because I'm telling you, God won't give you a dream unless He gives you the means in order to make that dream come true. And it doesn't make any difference what your dream is. Then we have another little saying that first time I was heard, I was sitting in a hot tub with a multimillionaire. He looked me dead in the eye, and I heard it for the second time in the hot tub. He said it to me 2 years before, but he didn't explain it the way he did the second time. So let me tell you, the first time first and the second time second. After my second meeting in my home, a millionaire had driven 5.5 hours one way to share this idea in my home. I couldn't believe it. After it was all over, that person's name is Ron Pereira. In my opinion, he's the finest man I've ever had a chance to get to know and have the pleasure to associate with. What a leader. A brand new qualified double diamond, by the way, he and Georgia Lee. Okay? And he put up a big old blackboard, and at that time it was one of those great big ones, took 2 dogs and a boy to carry, and had the refund schedule written, and you used chalk, and you coughed a lot and spit a lot and got it all over your dark clothes. And after it was all over, Ron took me aside, and the 2 no-shows and the 1 single that finally made it left the house. And I was sitting there having a pity party, feeling how sorry it was for me. And Ron pulled out a check, his recent performance bonus. He was a brand new Pearl direct distributor, brand new. And he said, Dave, if you just listen and learn, we can show you what you can have. He pulled out a check, and that check, 1 check. There's 9 profits. You get this 1 check, 1 month, part-time, $7,200. He started to walk out that door, and I reached over and grabbed his hand, and I pulled him right back, and he's a great big bugger, and I'm not too big. I looked up into his eyes, and I said, Ron, now you tell me the truth, and I'm telling you, don't you dare lie to me. I said, is there any way possible that I might just someday, somehow, some way learn enough about this business that I could just make half that 1 month? He just stuck his arm around me and pulled me in and gave me a big hug, and he said, Dave, I'm going to tell you something. I see great things in you. I see abilities and talents in you that you don't know you have, and I'll make you one guarantee. If you'll do what I teach you and you'll follow my guidance, I'll never hurt you. I'll never offer to do anything against you. I'll never ask you to violate your personal beliefs or your moral principles. And if you'll listen to me, I'll guarantee you, you'll make twice as much in this business as I make when you get to the level I'm at. I was about passed out. Now, I was a big shot accountant, making about $20,000 a year gross, and that's as gross as you can get 5 years ago. You see where the comparison is, the standard of comparison? All of a sudden, somebody succeeding began to raise my standard. Well, I listened to him. That was the day I did the one thing that has to be if you're ever going to succeed. That's when I submitted my male ego, the one thing that'll wipe you out. I submitted that to somebody that was where I wanted to be. In other words, up until that point, ain't nobody knew more than me, and all you had to do was ask me and I'd tell you. I was a hero, big shots. Well, I was a big deal. That was the day I said, brother, you call, we haul. You tell me it's done. I don't care who you are, what you are. You are in life where I want to be, and I finally learned the principle about you can't create something greater than what you are, so you better be listening to somebody that is where you want to be. And I got plugged into a guy that's led me into a millionaire position. The night I saw this plan, I got excited. I didn't understand it, but I got excited. The very first tape I ever listened to was How to Get Started by a guy by the name of Bill Britt. I liked what he had to say. My wife didn't want nothing to do with it. She was a member of every social group in town. She was in the ladies' aid and every other kind of aid you could get involved in, and she was worried about what the neighbors would think. I remember I reached over and turned that tape player on, and Bill Britt started talking about how to begin a business. And Jan got up and ran upstairs, and I heard the door slam up there. I reached over and turned the volume up just as high as I could get it. Wow! You could hear us 5 blocks away, that tape blaring away. Because I told my wife I was going to succeed whether she wanted to or not. I didn't ask my wife permission to become a CPA, and I didn't feel there was any need to ask her to become successful. I did make her one promise, however, when we began our business. I said, honey, if you don't help me, you don't get a dime when the money starts rolling in. Changed her attitude some. I remember I said, someday, somehow, some way, Bill Britt. I didn't even know who he was. First tape I ever listened. I slammed the tape recorder off about halfway through it, and I said, someday, somehow, someway, Bill Britt, I'll get to know you personally, I'll earn the right to associate with you, and I'll have you in Boise, Idaho talking to my group when it gets built. Ain't it great we're building an army across this country? Ain't it great we're building a business that people understand about, and they'll never know who we are unless they catch us all in the same room at the same time. And that'll never happen. You three fellas, stand up right now and turn around and face the crowd a minute, please. Yeah. Turn around and look at them. Which one's an Amway? Thank you. Go ahead and sit down. You don't know who we are. We're disguised just like the Amway vehicle's disguised. We're Americans that know who we are, where we're going, how we're going to get there, and we're working our plan. Amazing, isn't it? Now, I want everyone in this room, when you're through here tonight, I want you to go home and I want you to order the book, Magic of Believing. If you haven't got it, and if you've got it, find it and reread page 96, 97, 98. And the last paragraph in the chapter, the mirror technique. And what I've just told you will make a lot more sense. When you know who you are and where you're going, the facts simply don't count. That was 1 year ago last October, and Dave and Jan Severn had been in the business for 3 years, just a little less than 3 years. We were Ruby Direct distributors, and we had one gold direct leg. We went Pearl that same month that Bill came out with Dex. They pulled all of our group together, and lo and behold, 3 years later, someday, somehow, someway, Bill Britt was in my living room. Well, we went and rented a suite. And we pulled our group together, and we were gold Ruby Directs with one gold leg. We all got in our motorhomes and coaches, because I'd been full-time in the business for 3.5 years. We went full-time at the gold level, because we were making more than 4 times in Amway what I was making as a full-time CPA after 17 months. Now, I'm not telling you to do that, because everybody's situation is different, but we've made a lot of money in this business. Always have been very profitable. Do you know why? Proper width. So we got everybody together, and that same month that we went over to the Oregon coast, because when you hit certain levels in Amway, they send you away for a week on them. We just all got in the coaches, bought 13 motorhomes into a place called the Sun River, Oregon. Had a tendency to blow their mind. Everybody came rolling in there, all free, all young, and all wealthy. The combination people have been looking for all their life. We all had our kids there, because as long as it was being paid for, we might as well enjoy it, right? Well, that month we broke 3 directs as a result of Bill coming out. That means we went Pearl. Our performance bonus check for the first month that we went Pearl came to the door, and I had a flashback. I wonder. He said that if I'd listened to what he said, I'd make twice what he was making when I got to where he's at. Did he tell me a lie, or did he tell me the truth? Up until that point, Ron Pereira never told me anything but the exact truth. Here was the test. I took that envelope and I slid it open very carefully with one of my old, when I was jailed up down at the job, I had one of them fancy letter openers, and I slipped off the top, and I lifted that check out, and I did it just the corner that doesn't have the money in, the left corner first, because I wanted to save it and savor it. And when I popped up the right corner, what do you suppose the amount was? Twice times $7,200. Everything Ron Pereira has taught me and told me and shown me and told me would happen has happened in this business. Because I listened. And I duplicated work habits. You want to succeed? Find out what successful people do and duplicate the work habits. That means you get the right width in the business, and you counsel and guide and submit your ego to somebody that's where you want to be, and listen to them. And if your sponsor has more volume and a bigger pen and is going on in this business, if you're smart, you'll listen and take that knowledge and put it to work. Ron Pereira's told me one lie since I've been in this business. We have somebody sitting in the back that'll support this next statement, I'll promise you. Ron Pereira told me that you'd make $100,000 at the diamond level. Bull. I'll promise everyone in here that's got enough guts to become a Diamond Direct distributor that you'll make at least $100,000. And anything less than $100,000 you make, I'll make up for it. You just have to guarantee me that you'll give me everything over $100,000. That is the biggest lie I've ever seen right there, the 2 to 5 year plan. You're shown how to help 6 people become directs and make $50,000 a year. That's diamond, in case you haven't realized it. I'll promise you, Walt and Jay Newman are making over $50,000 a year in Amway. Now, I'm just a first-year diamond. We just went diamond last August. But since that time, we've been halfway around the world, and we've been there together, and most of the time we've taken our family. We've made money the whole time. We just got off the yacht floating around the Caribbean. We made money the whole time we were down there getting a suntan. And for everything that we did that the company didn't pick up, we deducted. 5 years ago, I was broke. Had a rubber tree plant, had my wife working, drove a used Toyota, and that was it. My wife now drives a Porsche. I drive an Eldorado. We have a 30-foot motorhome, and if we had more place to park, we'd have more cars. So we're moving. Ain't it something? Amway, oh God! What will people think? Who cares? I'm telling you, Americans are pulling their head out of the sand about this Amway deal because it works. I don't sell soap because there's glamour in it. God, I can sell diamonds, man. There's a lot of glamour in diamonds, right? How many people in the room bought a 6-carat diamond this month? Or bigger? That's one of the reasons we don't sell diamonds. There doesn't seem to be a lot of need for them. We can sell real estate. All kinds of glamour. How many people bought a house that cost over $500,000 this month? It's one of the reasons why we don't sell those big ticket items. Luxury automobiles. Golly, we could be in fancy big cars. How many people paid more than $50,000 for a car this month? Let me tell you why we sell soap. How many people in this room use soap this week? Pretty stupid statement, isn't it? If you want to succeed, understand you got to have 4 things. You got to have a product that everybody needs every day. Number 2, you got to have a product that when it's used up, it's replaced. Number 3, you got to have the best quality. Number 4, you got to have the best price. We got them all. Now, there are only 3 products that qualified and met those requirements. The first, toilet paper. Got a lot of problems in the paper industry today. Got an awful lot of problems in the paper industry. Astronomical processing costs. Unbelievable investment in plant, property, and equipment. All subject to the economy. The second qualifying product, bread. It's perishable. It spoils. And there's only a 1% profit margin. The third, soap. Everybody needs soap. I don't care how high the interest rate gets, you're going to brush your teeth tomorrow morning. I don't care what happens to the inflation rate in this whole blasted country. Women will shampoo their hair tomorrow. So we sell toothpaste and shampoo. I don't care how bad you don't want to. When your baby diapers get dirty, you'll wash them. So we sell detergent. No glamour in it, but Lord, there's a lot of profit in it. I didn't get into Amway for glamour. But now here's a very big important message. I never did get into Amway. I got into Severn Enterprises. Amway is a vehicle. That's all that it is. It is a vehicle that will offer a product and service vehicle, a ways and means to go into business for yourself and make something happen if you've got enough guts to get excited. Now I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of people in this room that are still a mechanic in the Amway business. You're wondering why it won't work. Or you're still an accountant in the Amway business. Or you're still a gas station attendant in the Amway business. And you can be that, and no one will judge it, and we aren't putting you down for it. But if it ain't growing as fast as you want it to grow, then why don't you get in the Amway business and be a part-time mechanic? I was in the Amway business from day one and was a part-time CPA whenever I could work it in 8 hours every day. And people say, how did you grow fast? I bought the business as the source, the means, and the end outside my spiritual life to get me where I wanted to go. I took a hold of a vehicle and I listened to people that were where I wanted to be. I didn't see one accountant living the way I wanted to live, but I saw a lot of diamonds living the way I wanted to live. You see, I really can't even say that because the biggest pin in the whole West Coast when I got in this business was an emerald, and I didn't think I'd ever live long enough to be an emerald. That was so high and far and above and beyond me, I wasn't sure that I could even live that long. But I'll tell you what I did do is I got excited. And something happens in life when you get excited if you'll listen and do it. So we began to grow, and we began to grow, and we began to grow, and began to grow, and began to grow, and we listened, and we did, and we listened, and we did, and we became full-time Amway in 17 months. Why? Because we were clearing 4 times more part-time than I was getting as a full-time CPA. And I remember the last day I went to work, and I said, "Boss, I got to tell you something. We're going to lunch." I went in on a Monday morning and got a tail chewing. You ever had one? You ever get chewed out for something you couldn't control? Happened to me every Monday morning in a staff meeting. I said, "I got to tell you something." He said, "What is it?" And I said, "We're going to lunch." And he said, "No, I'm too busy. We haven't got time." And I said, "We're going to lunch." And he said, "Listen, as long as I sign your paycheck, you don't tell me what to do." I said, "That's right. We're going to lunch." He said, "Oh, yeah, Severn, I know you got into something on the side and you burn the candles at both ends." And I said, "That's right, pal, and your end's going out." At age 33, Jan and I walked into the life of the living. Never to answer to another person, never to be controlled by time, money, or effort. Because we worked a plan that we were shown how to work, and we listened, and we submitted ourselves to successful people. Now, I just realized that on my watch here, it's 9:45 in Boise. And that means we're 2 hours earlier here, right? Now, I'm telling you all a message. Every clock, watch, hourglass I own, except this one, is set at 9:45. Everyone in this room has a watch on. Take your watch off. Put it in your pocket. Now you got nothing but time, don't you? Isn't it amazing? Here's what blows my mind. The longer I'm in Amway, the more I understand this statement. Behind every successful man, there's a successful woman. Sadly, and all too often, it's not his wife. And that's the truth. The greatest accessory, gentlemen, you'll ever have for those married is your wife. How many times has the most important person in your life called you up at work and you just jumped all over her? "You know better than to call me up down here, doggone it, I'm busy, I haven't got any time to do this, I haven't got any time." And the only person that's taking your time is some bum that's in there trying to sell you something you don't want. Ladies, have you ever been eaten alive over the telephone? "I haven't got any time to talk to you." Take your watch off, you have nothing but time. Some of you got to drive some long miles to build this business in Texas, don't you? Some of you got to burn the rubber. You know who's serious in this business? I can tell you who's serious. All I got to do is walk out here in the parking lot and look at the tires. I'll tell you who's serious. The people that have got old cars with brand new tires on them, or middle-aged cars with bald tires. Those are the ones that are serious. If you ain't burning up 100,000 miles in this country, you ain't serious about your future. Now, when you're broke, you'll say, "Oh, don't drive the car that much, honey. We don't want to put all those miles on there. We'll eventually have to get rid of this thing." I tell my people, burn the engines up, man. Burn them up. The faster you can burn them up, the bigger you and faster you're growing in this business. Because things are temporary, and you do that in this business, you'll make enough money you can buy any car you want to buy. But you see, it's the broke thinking that changes things in life, and you've got to decide whether you're going to succeed or fail. That's a decision process. And then you've got to learn to speak what you want. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. That's the way that it is. You don't need to go down to work and blab, "Hey, boss, bite the bag. I'm going to do it tomorrow. And one day I'll be a millionaire and you can just go take a hike." Don't say that. Now, you can say it to yourself, and you can say it to your upline, but don't be stupid. Learn another principle of success. Let your actions speak so loud nobody can hear a word coming out of your mouth. When we come flying in a Jet Ranger helicopter and pick you up wearing a tuxedo and your wife in a full formal, you won't have to tell him you're leaving. Could you imagine walking into work for the last time? Has anybody got a big dream big enough for that? The last day you got up, shave yourself for the last time. Could you imagine dragging that razor across your face? "I'll never have to get up again in my life if I don't want to." Can you imagine what it'd be like to let that door slam in behind you the last time you'll ever walk out of it? Clunk. Could you imagine to see all your diamonds and all your upline there with motorhomes and Cadillacs and all your friends, 2 or 3 or 4 or 500 of them, a 2-mile length of caravan with a helicopter flying overhead, you and your kids in it? You see, it'll never be as bad as it is today for you. That's the second thing prayer told me in a hot tub. You have lived the worst day of your life financially. It'll never be as bad as it was for you today. This is as bad as it'll ever be. I have lived the worst day of my life financially. I get excited about that, friends, because I got to admit it ain't all that bad. But I'll tell you, people without a dream and without ways and means to make the dream come true have lived the best day of the rest of their life, because it's downhill from here on out. You have a responsibility, and that's to help your fellow man if you love him. You know how to prove your love to a fellow man? Be an example. Now, I'm always shocked by the guy that says, well, I don't love her anymore. Man, love is eternal. Love never dies. You never loved her to begin with if you don't love her now, because once loved, always loved. Big difference, right? You understand that God's laws are always the same, and they're always final, and you can't see them, you can't touch them, you can't smell them, but they're true. You never break them, you only confirm them. One of God's laws is gravity. If you'd crawl to the top when we're done here in just a few minutes and step off, would you break the law of gravity? No, you'd confirm it. Success principles are the same way. You might think you don't know a thing that I know, but I'm going to tell you something. If I aggravated you here tonight, it's because the truth hurts. But I will tell you this. If you'll work this business 5 nights a week for 2 years, through a sphere of influence of 100 human beings, you can have anything in life you ever wanted. I'll guarantee anyone in this room is willing to listen and learn that if you'll work this business 5 nights a week for 2 years in a sphere of influence, you can have anything you can dream. Because I will promise you that out of the 100 people that you'll show this plan to, if you've got enough guts to be willing to do that. Now, you may not have to show that many, but if you're willing to decide that you'll pay the price to show 100 people this plan on a 5-night-a-week effort, in the next 2-year period, you're going to become very wealthy. There's no way to keep from sponsoring at least 15 to 20 of those people that want to do something, and that means diamond. And I'll also tell you that if you want to be a diamond and you're not 15 to 20 wide, quit kidding yourself. It ain't going to happen until you are. I will tell you that the ways and means to build this business is fast, not slow. And you just ask anybody who's building slow and they'll agree. If you're building Amway business slow, you're miserable. Now, you can build it as fast as you want because it's your decision, but listen to this. Anything less than 5 nights a week is going to require 3 things to happen. Number 1, it's going to take more time. Pretty obvious. Number 2, it'll take more money. Pretty obvious. Number 3, you'll need a bigger sphere of influence than 100 people. You'll have to work harder. Now, I wasn't a mental giant, but I wasn't stupid. If I could get diamond in 2 years, it seemed better to do it in 2 than 5. Would you agree? Now, at minimum, that's $100,000 a year, so I just figured I'd put in $300,000 in the bank by getting there in 2 years instead of waiting for 5. And I want you to know that then you got to understand to get around people that can help you be there, associate with people and get excited about your future, and then duplicate some work habits, and then start talking what you want. God gave you a computer. He also gave you a programmer. It's called your tongue. You'll possess in life what you confess, so you got to learn to confess it. But you don't have to run around mouthing off. Just confess it to yourself, God, and your upline. I'm going to make it. I'll pay the price. There isn't nothing going to stop me from succeeding. I will do what it takes. I married my wife for better and worse, and I'm going to make it better. I love my wife, and I want her with me. Our kids will be here with us. We will make it happen, period. That's it. And the next time some clown comes in and tries to polish your dream or throw a little water on it, just reach your hand out and thank him for $50 and get on down the street. I love the same thing that Jesus talked about in the Bible. He said, if you want to really go out and do what I challenge you to do, he said, take the good news out, stop in every town, talk to the people about it. If they want to learn about it, stay there and teach them. If they won't want to learn about it, shake the dust off your sandals and get it on down the road. And you need to apply that same principle in building this business. If you tell me no, by Jiminy's, I'll promise you, before that door closes, I've forgotten your name on my way out the door. My train is going somewhere. You get on it and come with, or watch it pull out of the station and wave to it goodbye, because it doesn't stop and it never backs up. Just means if you want to get on it, you come with me. You make my pace. Now, I'm telling you, when you get around successful people, you become like them. That Ron Perier's making it real tough. He hardly got leveled off a diamond, now he's double. Who knows what from here? But you know what that means? It means he's proven it can be done, so that's all I need. Do you know a winner just needs to know he can do it? A winner just needs to know somebody else has done it, and therefore I can. When Walt Newman went Diamond Direct Distributor and came out to Portland, Oregon, we were out there, first enter, free enterprise. You know what I said? And I'm telling you, this is a compliment in this business. I looked at Jan. I was a gold direct distributor with a gold leg. I said, if he can do it, I'll tear it up. When Paul Miller walked out on that stage as a brand new diamond, I said, Jan, if he can do it, I'll tear it up. And every diamond that came across said the same thing. And then when Jack Doherty came across that diamond, I said, God, I know I'll tear it up. Some of you are sitting around saying, well, I want to work, because you ain't working it. You're going to hear some clown that's broke say, I want nothing to do with that. I know a guy that got in and quit. Well, good. You can get in and quit too, and then that same guy can go around saying, I know two guys that got in and quit. Or you'll hear about the guy that ran into a guy that met a guy on an airplane that knew a fellow in a bar one time that had a drink in O'Hare International Airport that knew a guy that got in the Amway and lost his shirt. He's a phantom. He doesn't exist. Find him, I'll buy him 5 shirts. Attitude. When you know who you are and how you're going to get to where it is you're after, nobody can stop you except yourself if you communicate with people that want to see you succeed. How many here totally and completely and positively, without a doubt, want to be a diamond? Raise your hand. Look at the hands. Just look at the hands. Lay your hand down a minute. Dumb question. Who wouldn't want to be a diamond? Wealthy, totally free, $100,000 a year coming in, all bills paid off, around your beautiful wife so you can enjoy and travel and honeymoon across this country. Who wouldn't want that? Now let's get down to where the rubber meets the road. How many are going to be flat, period? That's it. Ain't no question about it. Okay? Throw your hands. Now I didn't come down here to mess with you. Let's see where the rubber meets the road. Let's see who the new diamonds in Dallas, Texas are going to be. Are you ready? Tell the truth. I'm going to ask somebody that wants to make this. I'm just going to tell you something right now. If you stand up, what I'm about to ask you to do, I'm going to ask you to come up here and prove it, so you better tell the truth. Of those that said they wanted to be, knelt down to those that said no question about it they're going to be, how many of those that said they're going to be diamonds can stand up right now and pull their calendar out and show me where you've been showing this plan 5 nights a week, every week for the last 6 months? Stand up. Raise your hand. Meet your new diamonds in Dallas, Texas, friends, because they're the ones that are going to make it happen. All right, now, there's only 2 exceptions to what I just said. If you ain't been in 6 months, and you've already made that decision, because it only takes 90 days to go direct, and the one that's going to make it tonight. The only other exception is the guy that says, Severn, you so terribly aggravated me, Buster, just out of spite, I'm going to just walk up to you in Bermuda and mash you in the mouth. But you remember, you got to earn the right to walk up to me in Bermuda, because only diamonds get to go. Now, some big shot might say, well, I can fly to Bermuda anytime I want. Go ahead, but you'll be alone. Because only diamonds get to come to the Britt Diamond Club. It's worth coming to. I tell my group, real simple, and I'm going to wind down here because I know it's later than what I thought it is. I'm still on 10 o'clock time. If you're serious about going diamond, and I hope you are, because it's the greatest thing you can do for yourself, your family, and your country. And I know you don't understand that right now, but when you get to diamond, you will. On straight faith, knowing that I'll never tell you anything that'll hurt you, slow you down, or stop you, then you do 6 things to show a 7 things to show a business intent, and then I'm going to give you a handful of tools, and then I'll be done. 6 things that will allow you to take advantage of everything in this business, all the tax advantage and all the profit will come to you. You must show a business intent through a 2 to 5 year plan. That business intent, number 1, requires you to personally use your own products. If you were arrested tomorrow morning for being an Amway distributor, would there be sufficient evidence to convict you? So use your own products. Now, out here, you got to stay up a little bit later because you got so many hours to drive, right? You ought to be on double X, and if you aren't using your own vitamins, you're missing the boat. I have a very high energy level. You know why? I take a lot of vitamins. But minimum is double X. We don't want you to go to sleep. But that's just one of over 300 basic commodity items available. And if you aren't using every one of your own products, you're kidding yourself. It ain't going to happen. The second thing is you service 10 customers every month, period. If you're servicing 10 customers every month, you'll be doing $200 or $300 a month in retail. Almost every one of our customers buy at least $50 a crack. We don't just sell them a box of soap. We got a whole organization and product line. 6 separate businesses. Learn how to do a little bit of that. When you do it, then you can teach it. Because if you ain't doing it, you can't teach it, and your group will find you out. So you use your own products, you service 10 customers. Now hear this. You build your own tape library. Now that means it's you've acquired your tools, you set them aside, you don't resell them, they're outside your product room, and there are things that you listen to every day because you need a little tape in every day. Now we have a thing called standing order. I don't know if you know what that is, but you need to be on it if you're serious. And if you don't know what standing order is, you get with your upline and you find out and you get involved in it because it is a current tape coming out once a week. You don't pay for it until you get it, and it is current information. We're all thinking the same thing. We don't want clones, but we want us all thinking the same way. Because you see, we want you thinking diamond because we want you diamonds. And the only way you become a diamond is to think about it and know what you're thinking about, and it's the same thing your upline's thinking about. It's called communication. So you build your own tape library. The fourth thing you do is you build your own book library. And readers are leaders, leaders are readers. You read every day at least 15 minutes. I don't care when you go to bed. I tell people you ought to buy, outside of standing order, you ought to buy at least 2 tapes a week and listen to them and understand them. And the second thing you need to do in the book area is you ought to be buying 1 to 4 books a month dependent upon what your personal reading habit is. Now I'm talking about for you. That doesn't count what's for your group. So that's the fourth thing. The fifth thing is you get your own tools. Let me tell you what the physical tools are. A board and easel. If you're serious about your business, you got your board and easel because you can't build a house without a hammer and you can't build a business without a board. It means you get your markers and your erasers and you get 3 or 4 decision packs. And you don't quibble over the price, you get them because they're all tax-deductible business expenses. And you let your retail profit buy them for you. I don't buy any excuses for failing. That's the fifth item. What's the sixth item? You attend. Now watch this word. Please, everybody up here. You attend all functions. That means every one, not just one that is convenient, because you'll never succeed on convenience. And if you're a husband and wife partnership, you both need to be here. But if for some crazy and undetermined reason one of you can't be here, for heaven's sakes, the other one needs to be there with a tape recorder and a notepad. And when you go to a function, you go there prepared to learn with your antenna up. Let me tell you what I mean. My husband's got lumpuckaroo. He won't be able to make it to the next regional rally. So I'm not going to go either because I don't want to go alone. If you were in a business outside Amway and you were in partnership and you were incapacitated to where you couldn't go, and your partner walked in and said, well, you know, it's over 60 degrees, I don't think I'll go. I've got a hangnail, I don't think I'll go. Or I run out of Pepto-Bismol, I don't think I'll go. Or the dog needs fed, I don't think I'll go. What would your response be? Hey, buddy, we're in partnership. You're representing me as well as yourself. Get your hiney down there. The function you miss is the one you should have been to, I'll promise you. There's some people in your group need to hear what I said tonight. They weren't here. They missed out, right? That's their problem. Now, I'm telling you why they weren't here. Who's this guy from Idaho? God, he'll come in and say the same thing the guy before him said. Well, the guy that you missed is the guy that you would have related to. I spoke a little strong to you tonight because I love you. I wouldn't talk to you this way if I didn't love you. You know why? Because we don't have enough diamonds in Texas. Period. And I guess it's because you men don't want to give your wives nice things. That's the only conclusion I can draw. Don't you men want to bring your wives to Disneyland and Bermuda and probably on to Hawaii next year with us? Don't you want to go on the cruise? We're taking our second Caribbean cruise, and next month, in April, we're going. They're forcing us to take another week and float around the Virgin Islands. No charge. I can only assume you don't want to enjoy nice things, or you'd quit screwing around. So you attend all the functions. Now that's 6. There's one more. What do we teach to do? A 2 to 5 year plan. What kind of an effort does that require? 2 to 3 nights a week you need to be showing this plan, now ready for this one, to new faces. To a new set of eyeballs, man. You don't need to response the same guy 85 times. This business grows through a thing called exposure. You need to get the business exposed. And if you'll do those 7 things, then you'll have advantage of everything and be able to take advantage of all the tax breaks, and you'll be able to build a big business. Then you need to get in the habit of showing this plan to 10 new people a month personally until you sponsor 2, whichever comes first. Show it to 10 or until you sponsor 2, whichever comes first every month. And if you'll begin that this month, March, how many people will you have sponsored in a year's time? 24. What would your business look like with 24 new legs? It'd be a whole lot different than what it is now, right? Now, who's going to get that done for you? It ain't going to be me, I'll promise you. But I'll help you. I'll never build you something you can build for yourself, but I'll help you build it. I can help you build a terribly stable and strong business. But, sweetheart, you got to build it wide and profitable. We know how to work it stable. You got to make it profitable. You can make a lot of money in Amway. We made over $132,000 a year the year we were Rubies. Why? Well, let's do that. I worked my hind end off. I'm going to tell you something. You work hard once at Amway. Once! Take the rest of your life off first class. It's a question of whether or not you want to work hard for 2 years or work easy for 40 and wind up with nothing. You choose. I wasn't ambitious and I wasn't lazy. I was ambitiously lazy. Those are 7 needs. And here's what I take my people aside that are totally serious about going diamond and tell them to do. We've got all kinds of tapes. We've got all kinds of systems. We've got all kinds of support. But I tell them this. Now here's what I'm telling you. You know what the parameters are. You know that if you've got to be a diamond, you need 15 to 20 people sponsored that want to do something. At your level and above. That's got to be. And if you ain't there, get there. Don't come limping back in another month's time with the same width you got now. Get out and expose the business in March and bring about 4 new legs back to that regional rally going to be held here on the April 3rd. Or whenever it's going to be in this area. Don't come back without twice as many people that were at the last regional. You know who controls that? You. But you got to sponsor 15 to 20 people. You'll hold 5 to 7 meetings for those people. There's a right way to do that and a wrong way to do that. Don't worry about the ones that don't want to have the meetings. Work with the ones that do want to have the meetings. And learn how to keep the group together as you build those 5 to 7 meetings. After 5 to 7 meetings, in my opinion, it's go direct or forget it. Now, it doesn't mean I forget about them as human beings. I just know that I've got to concentrate my effort on somebody who wants to grow, not somebody that doesn't. It's not my responsibility to make you successful. It's your responsibility. I'll just show you how and work with you. Out of 15 to 20 wide, and I'm telling you, if you ain't wide, don't work. Out of 15 to 20 wide, 6 to 8 are going to go direct. 3 to 4 this year, 3 to 4 come in behind them next year. That's why it takes 2 years to go diamond. Period. That's all. So simple. But now watch this. If you sponsor down, that means less than your ambition level, nothing works. You understand? Nothing works. And that's why somebody says, well, I got 14 people sponsored and now my volume's $3. No, you ain't got 14 people sponsored, friends. You got yourself faked out. You see, if you sponsor down, let me tell you what happens mentally to the person you sponsor. You could do it, Joe, but I never could. But if you sponsor up, you know what happens? God, if you can do it, Joe, I'll tear it apart. See the difference? And we know just one thing here. We know this. If you put money on a vertical scale and you put attitude on a horizontal scale, and a negative attitude is to the left and a positive attitude is to the right, we know that people's money is in direct proportion to their attitude. The more positive their attitude, the more money they make. The more negative their attitude, the lower the self-image. The lower the self-image, the less income they have. Now this is zero as far as attitude. This is your level. Right? Now watch. Here's what happens usually. 15 to 20 wide? All right, I'll do it. Wow. Well, I'm not sure about Amway. I don't know if it's any good. You know, they said it is, but I'm not sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are people you sponsor. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. God, I'm working hard. Why won't nothing happen? Most people, sadly, because they do not do what we tell, will go direct with about 2 or 3 legs. And that's why they don't have the income that you can have if you go with the proper width. Now, you can make $1,200 a month with a note in your mouth at the direct level. But you can make $3,500 a month at the same level if you just do what we teach. Pay 15 bonus checks and you'll be clearing over $3,000 a month at the direct level. Now watch. Most people take 2 years that are below zero, that have enough guts to stay in, about 2 years just to get up to ground zero. And that's why we'll tell you, if you can keep somebody in this business around the system for 2 years, they'll eventually be a direct. So we never give up on any people. But what would have happened if Dave and Jan back there would have kept pace with this 2-year group? We'd have right now been getting ready to get ready. But we went on because our upline went on. And that's why it's your responsibility to grow, to show other people it can be done. Now here's what's exciting. Those ones that aren't growing too fast, relax. Go on without them and let that be your 14th, 15th, and 16th direct legs. And that'll happen on you. And just ask Walt. I'll bet he's got people in his group coming on that haven't done nothing for 2 years. I've got a guy that's been in for 2.5 years, and all he does is come over and get a tape and a book and a bar of soap, and he don't want the soap. But I love him. I just ain't waiting on him. Now, there are 6 tools I use, in addition to knowing what I just showed you and those other parameters. I tell my people, if you're serious about going business, here are the things you need, and if you do what's in this information, you go diamond. If you don't do it, you won't. Number 1, you understand, get, and begin to use a little pamphlet that we've got it all crystallized called Launching Your Future. You need to be using that tool. You need to know what's in there. You need to understand it because it's a Bible. It's a writing of what it takes to go direct. A lot of people say, well, I got to write it down to see it. Well, we've got it all written down and typed up, so it's easy to read. Now, here's the next tape, and the rest of these are tapes. The knowledge that's in Launching Your Future. Now, that's above and beyond counseling and association. This is just guts, nuts, and bolts right now. Launching Your Future, next tape, Dr. Wayne Martin, what it takes to be a direct distributor. Man, you got to begin, and that's a good place to begin, in my opinion. Now, the tape that folds right in and comes right in behind that, my friend, is a tape that was made to be its counterpart called It's All Predictable by Bill Britt. Now, when you listen to these tapes, take notes because they mesh in, but they're kind of spread out. And so you have to take notes, and you'll see how they fold together once they're all put together. There's a third tape that comes in right in behind that, in my opinion. I think it's just fantastic. If you use it, it works. It's called How to Go Diamond by Bill Britt on one side and Mickey Hamlet on the other. So that's 3 tapes. The 4th tape, I think it's just totally exciting once you understand how it works in the how and why of contacting and prospecting people by Ron Pereira on one side and the glue by Wayne Martin on the other. That's 4 tapes. Okay? The 5th tape ties it all together. Check the pulse, keep it alive, John and Jenny Bell Crow. There's your parameters. Every 90 days, you got to check the pulse of your business. You got to see where it's going, and that means you keep it drawn out, and that means you stay in counsel with the upline, and that means if things aren't working right, change them. But if they're working good, leave them be. Don't fix something that ain't broke. The last tape, in my opinion, ties the whole system together and opens your eyes up to why you do things. And that's Ron and Georgia Lee, the Pump in the Desert. Ron and George Lee Pereira, Pump in the Desert. That's a relatively new tape, at least in this part of the country. And if you will listen and take care of what's on those 6 tapes in one book, the only reason you don't go diamond is because you don't want to. After tonight, poverty is self-imposed. After tonight, you can do what you want to do if you want to do it bad enough. And so I'm going to close by just telling you this. First off, it's been my absolute privilege and honor to be with you here in Texas tonight. You have, without question, you are sitting on the edge of a gold mine. You are the cream of the knowledge. Right now, you know more about this business than anybody else in Texas because of your leadership. You know what this thing can be, and you've got a source of information called an upline that will totally change your life if you use them. But you've got to work smart and use the knowledge. Now watch. It's good today, but what is it going to be next year and the year after? 65% of sales came back in bonuses last year. 65% of $1.4 billion is over $800 million. Now watch. By 1985, we're looking right in the pipe of $5 billion in sales. What's 65% of $5 billion? Over $3.5 billion will come back to the people involved in the business in 1985 through those bonuses. Now, who's going to get the biggest part of them? The one that got in the business in 1985 or the people that are smart enough to get in now when it ain't? When I saw this business career look me in the eye and he said, Severn, we're going to $1 billion without you. And I said, no, you ain't. Who's going to be the unknown in this room tonight that nobody knows about but you know about, and right now it's all in your heart and all in your mind? You're going to rise above the crowd and you're going to come on to Diamond and we don't even know it because you're so busy making it happen you ain't shooting your mouth off. You got to be the hero that you know about today and nobody else knows about, but tomorrow they're going to hear about you because they're going to see your smoke. You got to decide you're going to succeed, and then don't let anybody steal your dream, and go get the job done. And then you just dwell on this last statement that I'll make to you. If you serve to the classes, you will live with the masses. But if you get a dream, you get your act together, and you accept the guidance and counsel of people above you and get involved in this Amway opportunity, then you will be able to serve to the masses, and therefore you will live with the classes. I understand that. Then let's close by this last thought. As you're laying there in bed tonight, get a dream and start talking about it and confess it. Set some goals and write them down. And then what I want you to do tonight is you close your eyes. I want you to picture what it's going to be like. Flying on that Delta Airlines from here to Atlanta, meeting us all at the Atlanta airport, all jumping on the same plane and flying to Bermuda. We diamonds like Bermuda. It's a nice place. It's top class and it's expensive, so you don't have anybody over there that can't afford it. Can you see coming down some great big spiral stairwells that come over a cliff, all rock stone, as you're walking down to a crystal sand beach, totally white sand with beautiful crystal blue water, and all the diamonds are out there, waded out into it, just about arm deep, and we're just letting the tidal action kind of move us in and out a little bit, and all we're doing is sitting out there with Bill Britt, sitting out there with Walt Newman. Len and Beatrix are there with us because they're going to get the job done this year. And everybody's sitting there saying, come on, winners, we've been waiting on you. Welcome.